little less jingles? Really?
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, April 2nd, 2015. Time for your Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 709.
This is No Agenda.
Celebrating our autistic freedom and broadcasting live from the Crackpot Condo in downtown Austin Teahouse. FEMA Region 6 in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where the garbage trucks are making more noise than usual, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Was it the garbage trucks that caused the booming sound?
Did you hear a booming sound?
No, I heard reports that people up in your neck of the woods were hearing booms in the middle of the night.
You know, I've heard about these booms. There's apparently this is going on in Washington too. And Mimi said I asked her about this specifically. She was up there during a booming episode. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what she told me now that you mentioned it.
You kind of forgot what she said.
I think she said that she's maybe heard something, or somebody told her they heard something. I don't hear.
But wait, I thought this was near Berkeley, where you are. Not up in Washington.
There was something going on in Washington that was more booming.
Oh.
Or was something else, some noise, some strange noise they can't identify. The booming sound.
Whoa. Yeah, we heard the train. We heard the train, all right.
It's the train.
All right. So you did not witness said booming. So it's
I didn't witness any. It's possible. If I heard something. Now that you mention it, there was something that sounded like gunshots.
That's what people say it sounded a bit like, but more like a cannon fire is what people were saying. Huh. If you don't know about it, then it doesn't matter, because I have no other information.
I don't know about it, but I may have actually heard it. Mm. But, hearing gunshots or cannon fire around here.
What else is new? Well, it's a new month, John. And you know what that means.
Yeah, new month.
New month means new proclamations.
It also means I'm getting close to my birthday on Sunday.
That's right. We have new proclamations.
Okay, well, let's hear them.
It's a busy month. Busy month, and a busy day, actually, today. We have National Child Abuse Prevention Month, which is, of course, always a good thing. These are all presidential proclamations as written up as such. It is also National Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month.
Right. The rest of the year, you can go ahead.
Yeah, do whatever you want. The write-ups are often quite interesting. And I always put these in the show notes. And it's just, I'm not going to read all of them. Maybe we'll pick out one today, because it is also National Donate Life Month for 2015.
How's that accomplished?
Let's read this. At this moment, more than 123,000 Americans are in need of a life-saving organ transplant.
Oh, okay.
Our nation continues to face a critical shortage. Every day, 21 people die waiting for an organ.
Yeah.
Let's see. So the president wants you to go to the donor registry at organdonor.gov. I never thought that was a good idea. I feel bad, if someone needs something. I don't know what they would want from me.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking you sign up, the next thing you know, some guys with black masks
you're a target.
over the head, steal your organs, and then you throw you in a ditch.
Yeah, you wake up in the bathtub with lipstick on the mirror. The bathtub with the ice.
Yeah, we all
know that story. It is also National Cancer Control Month. I found this to be an interesting choice of words. We're no longer, I guess, trying to cure cancer. We're just trying to control it.
That is interesting.
Let's see what the president says. This month, we stand with all those touched by cancer and redouble our efforts to prevent, detect,
I know what
and treat
it is.
This disease. Yeah? Okay.
I know why they changed it.
You do?
Because it encourages drug companies.
Well, yes, it's Cancer Drug Bonanza Month.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Here it is. People can take steps to reduce their chances of developing cancer, so maintaining a healthy weight, protecting skin from exposure to ultraviolet radiation, limiting alcohol consumption. What a boring month this is going to be. Cigarettes. This is the most boring month of the year. Thank you very much, President Obama. What do we have next? We have National Fiscal Capability Month. Now, this is a good one. Our nation is built on the idea that we do best when everybody gets a fair shot. Yes. 6 years after a devastating recession shook many Americans' faith in our financial system. So this is time to renew our efforts to support the informed financial decisions that will open doors into the middle class and help ensure economic security for all.
Bullshit.
Let's see. What can we do here? Not much, I guess. The Know Before You Owe campaign. What a slogan we have here. Know before you owe.
What does that even mean?
Know how you're going to be screwed before you take out the loan, I guess. Know Before You Owe campaign, so students and families have a straightforward tool.
Oh, that's the solution to
compare
student loan problem.
Financial aid offers. Yeah, isn't it?
Booklet.
Isn't this the month when everybody starts looking at financial aid?
I don't know.
I think it is. Then we have. I think we probably missed this. Was this yesterday? When was this? Cesar Chavez. That's old. That can't be right. Oh, that was I don't know what that is. Okay. We missed these. March 30th was Education and Sharing Day, 2015. Education and Sharing Day.
What does that even mean?
Well, let's see. Our young people are the problem solvers, thinkers, and visionaries of tomorrow who will change the world as we know it. They deserve the chance to fulfill their enormous promise, no matter who they are or where they live or who they love. Doesn't say that, but I made it up. Good education. I don't know. I'm not sure what that is. It's big brothers and big sisters. Anyway, today is an important day. And at first I thought the president, they came out with it just this morning. I find that to be a little bit late. It is a World Autism Awareness Day today. Or as I like to say, Put the Smart Kids Down Day.
Put them down?
Yeah. Smart kids.
I thought you. Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you meant shoot them.
No. Put them down. Make them feel silly. And autism, of course, is real. There's some very severe cases, but the spectrum of autism, which has been created solely for the pharmaceutical industry, in the DSM-5, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, i.e., the drug company's free ticket to giving your kids crap. He says here, my administration is committed to helping Americans with autism fulfill their potential by ensuring access to the resources and programs they need. And, of course, that's part of the Affordable Care Act takes care of that. Last year, I was proud to sign the Autism Cares Act. As part of the BRAIN initiative, remember $150 million for brain research. We continue to invest in innovative research. What I don't like is he kind of makes it sound like, if you listen here, on World Autism Awareness Day, our nation recognizes all those around the globe who live on the autism spectrum. That's you and me, John. One of my friends here who just started listening actually said, John's on the spectrum. You know that, right?
Oh.
Yeah, now come to think of it, probably. Our nation recognizes all those around the globe who live on the autism spectrum. We celebrate the countless ways they strengthen our communities and enrich our world, and we reaffirm their fundamental rights to participate fully in society, live with respect, and achieve their greatest potential. Yeah, this really makes it sound like everybody with any form of autism is pretty much a loser.
Tell that to Bill Gates.
Thank you.
The richest man in the world.
Thank you. And these are a lot of these autistic spectrum people are, incredibly intelligent. In fact, in the DSM, it says often very, very intelligent people are autistic. Okay. So I think that's prejudice, really.
Bigotry.
Thank you. So that's what's going on. That's all the president.
While
really
you're talking about the drug companies, might as well play a clip.
Oh, good idea.
Just want to remind people that drug companies are bad.
But some of them have some good drugs, and some of them can't help.
No, they're all a bunch of criminals.
Okay, all right.
Well, They should be indicted.
There's that.
Risperdal.
Okay.
Call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Risperdal, a medication used to treat ADHD, autism, and bipolar disorder, has been linked to gynecomastia in adolescent boys.
Gynecomastia? What is that?
If your son took Risperdal and later developed enlarged breasts, you may be owed significant compensation from the manufacturer.
Yeah.
There you go.
What do we know about Risperdal, except that it gives you boobs?
Makes you grow tits if you're a boy.
Oh, man.
That's a side effect for you.
Well, for some, it may be desired.
Well,
you grow boobs and you're really calm about it. So I think there's probably everybody around the world heard some of this, what has been going on in the United States of Gitmo Nation. I probably just want to get to it right away. I have a backgrounder on this Religious Freedom Act brouhaha, which I'm very disappointed for a number of reasons.
Oh, I was hoping to God you wouldn't start talking about this.
Just briefly. Why were you hoping to God I wouldn't start talking about it?
I thought it was a distraction of the week story. It's been on every news show all day and all night.
Exactly.
It's taken over the place.
That's why it needs just a brief deconstruction. Here's a backgrounder for those of you not living in the deluge of this crap from the three networks of the National Outcry. John, did you hear it on the streets? National Outcry.
And it's taken the same political sides as climate change. The right-wing talk show guys and the left-wing guys, yo.
Yeah. True. Here, let's just do a little backgrounder so everybody else who doesn't live here knows about it.
Also tonight, Indiana's governor responds to the national outcry over the so-called religious freedom law.
What?
Today, Indiana's governor vowed he will fix a controversial religious freedom law. Critics say the law is not about freedom, it's about legalizing discrimination against gays by allowing businesses to deny them service.
Indiana Governor Mike Pence bowed to public pressure today, saying his state's new religious freedom law needs to be clarified. Protests and boycotts led by gay and lesbian groups who feared the law would allow discrimination have gained steam all week.
On this Tuesday night, fixing it, bowing to pressure, Indiana's governor promising to rework the law that was billed as ensuring religious freedom, but viewed by many as a license to discriminate, as a backlash threatens to hit the state's bottom line. Good evening. Facing a growing opposition from inside and outside the state and a threat to its economy, Indiana's governor, in an apparent response to blaring headlines like this in the Indianapolis Star, has called for a change to the controversial law that some believe is worded in such a way it opens the door to legalize discrimination.
Tonight, Indiana's governor now saying he's asking for a fix after days of protests and anger over that controversial new Indiana law. He says it protects religious freedom. Critics say it's simply a cover for businesses to turn away gays and lesbians.
All right, so there you have a brief backgrounder, and we're not going to have one of the typical conversations and discussions, the national conversation about the outrage, the outcry. The only thing I want to say about this is, as a bicurious male, I'm once again so disappointed in the community leaders of the LGBTQIAAP community. They have once again allowed themselves to be abused, I say, for a complete political agenda, which is this: don't vote Republicans. They hate gays. That's it. That is all of this is about. And what surprised
you have to. I agree with you 100%. That's exactly what this is about. And Mike Pence is a potential presidential candidate who is a very presentable guy and good looking. The white-haired, CIA type.
I didn't know he was a presidential possible.
Oh, his name crops up quite a bit.
Okay, that's good. I didn't know this.
So that makes so let's get rid of him right now.
Right. Yes. Right. He's on the wrong side of history.
Why take a chance?
But
he's done.
Here's what galled me, John. Here's what galled me. Because obviously I'm on the Facebook because you're not. Somebody has to monitor this crap. And when Tim Cook, who, by the way, has come out as being gay, I think 3 times now over the past 20 years. I just want to point that out. He's never adverse.
Roller coaster gay.
Never adverse to coming out again and surprising us all once again. When he came out and made this big statement, Apple, we're open for everybody. Facebook went, everyone's like, oh, so proud to be an Apple fanboy today. Yes. You know what? You should stomp on your iPhone, you pathetic twits. That you seriously, and Tim Cook, what a dick. This is just abusing gayness. And now we have all these CEOs jumping on board. I find it abhorrent, really abhorrent. It is. It's real, and I can't believe that people don't see. And there's one thing, the Putin thing, with Putin hates gays, that got some legs, and people, that's when we first really saw the power of this. But to use this purely for political motives to put down a potential presidential candidate.
I'd like to, if you wanted to do something interesting, I think finding the roots of this bill would be one of them, because this bill is innocuous.
Totally.
I mean, you'd like, okay, now it's going to be okay for a cake maker not to bake a cake for a gay wedding. Hey, cake maker doesn't have to bake a cake for anybody.
I know. It's so ridiculous. And I think most people have not even read the law. The headlines everywhere, anti-gay. No, it doesn't say that. It could be used to discriminate. Do you really think
this, by the way, reminds me a little bit of the net neutrality battle?
Exactly.
Where you imagine all these possibilities. Look at this law. And then you take the imagination of these possibilities and then twist it into that's what it's about.
And it's so well executed. This was well done.
Which again reminds me how did this bill come to be? Because it looked like it was a setup. Looked like it's a setup to just get Pence, get him out of here.
I didn't even feel like looking that deep, because who gives a shit? I mean, it doesn't matter.
Now that you brought it up, we're going to have to look at it and do one more step on this. Because I've been watching. I mean, there's another one I'm looking for another step on. Is this Menendez thing, which is another.
Well, but before you go there, I just want to read what GLAAD said. The Gay and Lesbian anti-something, the Coalition Defense Project deniers. The comments here, we had critical information about frequent anti-gay interviews. And shoot, this is not what I wanted. Crap, sorry, forget about it. Doesn't matter.
That was very good.
That was bad. No, I got to open the link.
They said something.
This
Menendez thing has got me.
Oh, I see what they did. Okay, so they had. What they did is, and I thought this was really, and maybe GLAAD's behind it now that I think about it. The GLAAD Commentator Accountability Project, CAP, puts out critical information about frequent anti-gay interviewees, and they put that into the hands of newsrooms, editors, hosts, and reporters, journalists or producers who are on deadline, often don't have the time to dig into the history of a commentator. So they're calling people out who are anti-gay and being invited on shows. Audiences need to be aware that when they're not talking to the mainstream media, these voices are comparing LGBT people to the Nazi Germany, predicting that equal treatment of LGBT people will lead to the total collapse of society, and even making accusations of satanic influence. Really? This is what GLAAD is doing?
Where's this? I'd like to hear some of these shows. They sound very entertaining.
So here's their list. Tony Perkins, president of the Family Research Council, which is, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center, is an anti-gay hate group. Anti-gay hate group.
It's an anti-gay hate group.
It should be a gay hate group. Anyway.
Yeah, really. Anti-gay hate group. That doesn't make any logical sense.
It does not. It just got this whole list of people, and they're calling them. They had that picture that was being of the governor signing the bill into law, and they had a little. This guy hates gays. This guy is an undercover gay. This guy is thinks gays are the devil. Satan. And even David Letterman is everyone's just like, what's wrong with Indiana? We should tell.
Yeah, I heard that actually. I was just flipping around, and Letterman went off Letterman has gone off the deep end,
big time.
But he went off the deep end. Oh, this is not the Indiana I know. I'm from Indiana, and this doesn't. We're God-fearing people who love everybody. This is not the way Indiana's. He went on and on. I'm going, what the? Find something funny to do.
I know. And boy, does the media love that, but it's so progressive to be on board with this. Most of the people who are vocal about this are not gay. That's right. We need everything to be free, equal for everybody. And of course, I think what they're also trying to do again is bring the discrimination based on sexual orientation into law, which we know will never happen. This has been going on for decades almost. you can't. It will not work. You cannot do that.
Well, and it leads to discrimination. In other words, you're going to be a.
Yeah, so I got fired. I got fired. Well, I'm gay, so you fired because I'm gay.
No, I'm saying that the next step on that road is then discrimination against appearance.
Yeah,
this has been discussed in California quite a bit.
Appearance, okay.
Yeah, so somebody with a bunch of facial piercings and then blood dripping from their ear holes.
The big shotgun earrings, the big hole in their lobe.
Yeah, those big giant holes and all this stuff. You have to hire them. Or else, you're discriminating against appearance, and appearance is going to be the next road if they move at all on any of this stuff, because appearance is they discuss quite a bit. Yeah, you're a goth. Right. You should be hired to be at Abercrombie and Fitch.
1990 called, John. They want their goth back, but I understand what you're saying.
Goths are still around, and some of them call themselves goths, and they have a certain look.
Nah, not so sure.
Well, that's where it stems from. It stems from the goths. Okay. Yeah, well, not in Austin.
Oh, well, Austin certainly has a lot of interesting-looking people when it comes to piercings and body paint and modification.
Modification.
Yeah, that's body modification.
That's what
it's called. Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah, it was just really disappointing to me once again that not a single, gay community leader stepped up and said, "Boys and girls and people in between,
nobody's ever going to say it.
Let me say it.
You're in a dream world, my friend, a dream world.
I am a well-known bicurious male, and I'm saying I do not like my lesbian, gay, bicurious, bisexual, transgender, queer questioning, intersex, asocial, whatever, pansexual being abused this way, and people should stop it. It's really, really ridiculous. Particularly people who aren't gay. You're stupid. Fall for this dumb stuff. Ugh.
It's going on and it's continuing.
Yeah. True.
It will be on today's news and tomorrow's news as though this is news. And it's on PBS NewsHour. They devoted a segment to it and a couple, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you're right. Distraction. Actually, it does deserve the jingle.
The distraction of the week on No Agenda.
Because there was a lot of stuff going on while we were not paying attention. And
I didn't see much, except I got to still talk about Menendez.
All right, go ahead with Menendez, because now I didn't follow
the Menendez story is fishy clip, and we'll do. It's not going to be a long piece on them. I don't have a lot of material, but I do have a couple things.
Okie dokie.
The Justice Department announced today that for the first time since the 1980 Abscam scandal, it is indicting a sitting U.S. senator on federal bribery charges. For more on the action against New Jersey Democrat Robert Menendez, we turn to Matt Apuzzo of the New York Times, who's been covering the story. Matt, 8 counts of bribery, 22 counts in all. Tell us a little bit about what you know from reading the indictment about what they're charging.
Well, it's a really big indictment, Gwen. I'm actually about 2/3 of the way through it, and we all knew this was coming, but it's a lot broader and a lot deeper than I think a lot of us who've been following this closely expected. It basically describes Senator Menendez turning his Capitol Hill office into a criminal enterprise, basically using his offices and using his staff to go out and solicit gifts, find out what his political patron wanted in return, and to make sure it got done. Describes trading favors, political favors for trips on a private jet, first-class airfare, vacations, 5-star hotel in Paris. It's very, very broad. The indictment runs over 60 pages. It really is an aggressive move by the Justice Department.
Tell us about his political patron.
Solomon Melgen, he's a Florida eye surgeon. They have been friends since the 1990s. By all accounts, real friends. They vacation together, they exchange gifts, and that's going to be real key to the defense. Menendez is arguing that this is a friendship and that friends exchange gifts. And the Justice Department says this went well beyond friendship. This was a corrupt bribery scheme.
Okay. Explain who he is and what is going on. I tuned out to this because
you did, of course. Yeah, I know there was. Menendez is a Cuban senator from New Jersey, and he has a pal who's a Dominican in Florida who's a eye surgeon,
right?
And they've been buddies for I don't know 20 years, and so the buddy this guy's a rich guy in Florida who is always being thought of as a scammer for Medicare, and they've always been after him. They've never been able to get him.
Okay, I didn't know this part. A scammer for this guy, this doctor, whoever he is, he's been scamming Medicare? Okay, got it.
Yeah, supposedly.
Which is not hard to do.
But they've never been able to prove it, and they haven't been able to get him. So this is a roundabout way of doing it as far as this is fishy. This whole thing makes no sense. It's only about, it's not about a bunch of people waltzing in and waltzing out like they did with, that guy was vice president for Spiro Agnew. It wasn't like that.
Was it Abram? I can't remember the name. Okay. Jack Abramoff?
Abramoff is not a senator. Never was.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't.
Anyway, let's go. This is fishy because it's involving one guy who's a friend who he vacations with all the time, and the friend picks up the tab sometimes.
And he's a Democrat, this Menendez?
Yes, he's a Democrat, which makes it funnier.
Yeah.
But this stinks of Ted Stevens. Justice Department action against Ted Stevens, which was also trumped up. And the Justice Department seems to want to do this every so often. They can't even do anything about gun running, but they can deal with this character in New Jersey, who, from all I can tell, is a run-of-the-mill Democrat senator who just pretty much does his job like everybody else on the Democrat side. And this is very suspicious, and it seems very sketchy. And I'm going to follow it. I don't know why they. I mean, they could have gone after a lot of different people, but this has got something. They're trying to get this doctor under some circumstance, and he's been slithering away from them. And so they've decided to pull this stunt. And I just think it's abhorrent. I don't believe that this. Yeah, he apparently likes hookers.
So
Menendez. And he's a U.S. senator who likes hookers. Okay, well, that's interesting. That's a stunner. Gambling.
I got to get to that faster. Yeah, gambling.
And exactly. You're slowing the draw with the gambling one.
Yeah.
And so he likes hookers. And this guy's apparently from the Dominican Republic. He's got connections back in the old Dominica. And he sets him up with hookers once in a while. And then he set him up with a hotel room in Paris with a hooker. This is one of the big scandals.
Excellent.
And he picked up the tab, and supposedly Menendez goes to bat for him once in a while when he gets in trouble with the IRS or whatever, which is I don't think is that suspicious if it's your pal. And this is just bad. This is like This looks like they're just setting this poor bastard up, and he's going to take the fall.
Okay, but what you don't have is any clue as to why it's happening to him.
Well, no, my clue is that this is just a way of getting at the guy they're after by going after his pal. This is an old trick.
Okay. And who was they? The Justice Department? They're willing to do that to
Holder,
one of their own? Oh, boy.
Well, one of their own. The U.S. Senate has never seen. I could look into it, and I'll bet you that Menendez did not do the Justice Department any favors over the last few years, perhaps.
Oh, yeah.
I will find out the basis of it, but I'm just mentioning that this looks fishy to me because it only involves one guy. It's not like he's got the door open. He's turned his office into a center for bribery. The way they presented it, that's bull crap.
Right. Anyway. Well, there's multiple things happening. Of course, Harry Reid quit. We didn't even talk about that.
Didn't we?
No, I don't think so. Also Democrat. Of course, now everyone's talking about what we said immediately is he got beat up. Look at him. Yeah, that's not a rubber band injury.
By some gang.
Yeah.
Because he didn't do something. I mean, you don't get beat up for no good reason.
No. And then he just decides, I'm done. I won't do it anymore.
I mean, I'm still kind of following on the side. There's a very good newsletter that comes out once in a while I get to look at that is about the gaming industry. And there's this feud between Steve Wynn. There's one between Steve Wynn and his wife, which is...
that's a different issue.
That's a different issue. Yeah. But there's this feud between the guy who did Girls Gone Wild.
Oh, the My Hero, you mean?
Your buddy. He apparently went to one of Wynn's casinos and took out because he's well known, he took out a tab. Uh-huh. And I guess he lost $1 million or something and wouldn't pay. He made us, these games are rigged. It's one of these deals. These games are rigged.
I'm shocked. Find that gambling is going on in here.
There it is, finally. Yeah, rigged. I'm not paying. Okay.
And so now this is like going to be fun to watch.
That guy, he made a lot of money with the Girls Gone Wild franchise.
Yeah, his gimmick. I was in Philadelphia at a bar, and I was chatting with somebody, and they were buddies of this guy. He's like one of his best friends, and he told me that the guy's deal with getting the permissions for the girls is the following. When he goes, the T-shirt the girls who strip or show off their tops for this character. I can't remember his name. You can look him up. Yeah. He gives them a T-shirt as payment, and the T-shirt constitutes a release.
Really?
Yeah, that's his game. So it's okay, girls. Yeah, these T-shirts, this constitutes a release. You're giving me the rights to these videos. Once you accept the T-shirt, and they all scream and yell, and they all grab the T-shirt. He throws T-shirts at them, and each one grabs a T-shirt, and then when they have the T-shirts, then they've agreed to do the movie or to strip or do whatever they can do whatever they want. He just films it, and that's how he gets away with not having to pay anybody a nickel.
I'm just writing this down. Hold on a second. I'll make sure I get all this. Joe Francis. Francis.
Good gimmick.
Yeah, Joe Francis.
Right.
Francis. There was, before we move into, there's a number of clips, real topics that we've been bludgeoned to death with the Germanwings crash and what other stuff we've been dealing with. Of course.
That's another news story that keeps repeating itself. And by the way, we're coming on April 15th, and I mentioned this to you because
it's time for the cycle.
There was a meeting on April 15th in University of California. One of the lecture halls was going to have George Soros come to Berkeley and speak, and I would go to see that.
Hell yeah!
I mean, why not, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm sure he hangs around. You could talk to him afterwards, unless they rush him out, which they might do. But whatever the case, he canceled. And so I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is the April 15th is the 6-week moment.
Right.
So we have to keep an eye on that date.
Well, Soros announced he's ready to invest $1 billion in Ukraine if Western countries help private investment there, which is just funny because one of his very own OSI NGOs was partially responsible for the Maidan coup. So now he's coming back to get his pay, I guess.
I guess. If he's partially responsible for setting it up, there must be something. There's something of value in the Ukraine that Soros knows about. Soros is really a genius. If you read any of his books, he's really an arbitrage guy.
Yeah, but that's how he made his big money through the.
Yeah, you see a weakness on one side and a strength on another, and you balance the two. People can do this in the stock market I don't know how they do it, but they can do it. There are regional stock markets, and occasionally there'll be a discrepancy in the buying and selling prices of the exact same stock on the two different markets. So there'll be a New York, but it's usually like an American Stock Exchange or New York Stock, or even NASDAQ stock that is selling for $8 a share on one exchange and selling for $6 on another.
Right.
And you get in the middle and move you buy at $6 and sell at $8 like instantly, and you just make infinite money. It doesn't happen that often where it's.
I don't think that's his game in this case.
No, it's not. But it's the style. It's his style. It's a style of finding weaknesses and strengths, and then.
Well, things are coming down to the wire with Ukraine. They need more money from IMF, and of course they need to implement these sanctions. And I was just looking at some of these sanctions, which it's just another way of allowing Western banks and oil companies to come in, etc. I wonder if they're going to go after the mines in the east eventually as well. But there's now in Ukraine a 300% gas price hike.
Yeah.
New tax on domestic oil and gas production. It's really it's really sad because this is all coming down to the Ukrainian people.
Yeah,
they're getting screwed big time. And there's I put a pretty long article by a guy that I like reading a lot of, William Engdahl, and the title of it is Kiev Commits Energy Harikiri. And it's too long to discuss here, but if you read it, you can really see a lot more of just the pure factual numbers. And
Soros is like a vulture, so if he's in, something's up. You were talking about this sort of the energy thing, and I'm watching a movie. It's kind of an underrated James Bond movie with Pierce Brosnan from 1999.
Which one is this?
The World Is Not Enough. And I have a clip that I watched. This is 1999. I'm watching this clip. I'm saying, geez, we were being kind of told about, in fictional ways, what we kind of talk about on the show.
M sent me because we're afraid your life might be in danger.
Please, I want to show you something. I'm trying to build an 800-mile pipeline through Turkey, past the terrorists in Iraq, Iran, and Syria. Up here, the Russians have 3 competing pipelines, and they will do anything to stop me. My father was murdered. The villagers are rioting. And you, Mr. Bond, have come all this way to tell me that I might be in danger.
Yeah. Someone sent me a clip. I now that you play this, I wish I'd clipped it, of Little House on the Prairie. This is a very old clip. And Michael Landon? Something was printed in the newspaper, the local newspaper. I don't know what the backstory was. And he goes to see the guy who puts out the newspaper there in town. And it's clearly saying, oh, well, this is what we do. We're not going to write anything that would offend, the big money guys here in the area. And Michael Landon goes, but it's not true. And it was clearly one of the first deconstructions in the early days of how press truly works, of just making stuff up or certainly not reporting the truth. And that was in Little House on the Prairie. I should have clipped it.
Yeah, well, should have. Okay, onward.
All right, a couple of things. First, and actually, you talked about Menendez. There was this the CSIS, which I think is somehow related to the Brzezinski Institute. Brzezinski and Menendez were both speaking, and Brzezinski is too long-winded and really can't clip anything. But he was really saying, the Russia is between a rock and a hard place. They really only have 2 choices. Either you go to, you hook up with China, which of course they wouldn't want to do, or you eventually connect to the West and the Western banking system, reconnect to the Western banking system. And what he predicted, and that's really what I got out of it, is the end result will be Ukraine will become a full-fledged member of the EU, but will never be a member of NATO. And that is apparently how the deal is going to go down once it's time to go down. And of course, if you look at the eastern border of Ukraine, I mean, you can probably spit and reach Moscow. It's very, well, but it won't be NATO. It won't be NATO. Whatever you say, it won't be NATO.
No, I don't believe. I would be stunned at that, and I'm going to say these words, that at the end of the day, the Ukraine becomes part of the EU. I would just be stunned by that, because this is not a country you want as part of. It's not European. It's an Eastern European country that's run differently. It's got different men. I just don't see it fitting in.
I'm just telling you what Soros said.
No, that's part. Was it Soros or Brzezinski?
Brzezinski. I'm sorry, Brzezinski. Yeah.
By the way, both those guys are so long-winded.
They both talk kind of the same way.
You cannot get a clip from those guys.
You never see them in the same picture at the same time. And also, Kissinger should be a part of all that. Greece tells its creditors it will run out of cash by the 9th of April. This is ongoing. This is in the European press. People are talking about this. They're not just talking about gay wedding cakes. There is actual news going on.
Gay wedding cakes.
Yeah. And everybody's, the EU and the IMF and everyone's saying, yeah, you know what, why don't you go screw yourself, Greece? We're not going to give that to you. You have to implement the reforms, which means more tax. Screw the Greek people. Who gives a crap about them? So we'll have to keep our eye on the April 9th date. Russia, meanwhile, has said, hey, well, we'll hook you up. How much money do you need? And you got to wonder. They already own significant pieces of the infrastructure there. Putin's been all over the Mediterranean. The guy, yes, he's not. He hasn't done well for his country really during all of this, but at least he has some form of a strategy. At least he looks like he's trying to figure something out. And to get Greece, and of course, he has pieces of Cyprus, and it will be interesting to see what moves he's going to make.
I think the Greece thing is just a moment just to poke the eye of the EU, just poke them. No, you guys can't do it. I can do it. How come you guys can't do it? No problem for me. The books, and somebody's pointed this out, and I still think Russia's probably at least some. And I wouldn't know how to invest in Russia, but it seems to me as though there's a potential there because the ruble's depressed and everything is, ridiculous. Their balance sheet is not that bad. I've seen a number of presentations that show that they don't have a huge debt like we have, and it's not except for the fact that nobody will trade with them or they have these sanctions, and the ruble's been artificially depressed, and the word artificial is important. They probably could afford to bail Greece out.
According to Brzezinski, he said that the economy is just horrible. The people in Russia are hurting. And my friend Sergei Neftuliev has offered to take me to Moscow and St. Petersburg and to do a little Russia trip. I think that's a good idea for the show.
I want to go to St. Petersburg. Tell Neftuliev to take me. I've got to go to the Hermitage Museum. I want to see it.
Well, hold on a second.
I had somebody telling me, and I wish I lost track of them. This is typical. I don't take notes. I don't take notes on my personal life. Somebody said to me, "Oh, you want to?" It's probably an email. You want to? I'll get you into the basement of the Hermitage Museum, and you can go look around. That's what I want to do.
Okay, well, you can do that.
I mean, this is one of the greatest stolen art collections. I'm sorry, one of the greatest art collections,
curated collections,
curated art collections in the world.
Yeah.
And the problem with they had this thing in Las Vegas once. It was the first time I think anyone's done this. It was Shelley that did it at the Venetian. They had a Hermitage Guggenheim exhibition.
Is it not pronounced Hermitage?
It's something like I don't know.
Hermitage just sounds wrong.
Well, Hermitage is
Hermitage.
Right. Okay, the Hermitage, whatever. It's a great museum, but they don't really have any budget, so their stuff is just rotting. I have a bunch of stories about this, but I went to this exhibit and with the PR guy of the Venetian Hotel, I got in. And so he says, yeah. And he took me around and you could see the Hermitage stuff was all, they had a Gauguin, and Gauguin used to paint on burlap a lot. And especially a lot of his Polynesian stuff. He was just painting on burlap. I swear to God, there was one of these pictures sitting there that was just burlap. There may have been a scratch of
nothing else on, just burlap.
Just burlap, because all the paint had fallen off.
Nice.
But they still had it. So they had this piece of burlap sitting there. You could maybe see some faded paint that had soaked into the burlap.
Nice.
And it was just a mess. And then all of a sudden, I go around the corner, and there is one of Monet's pieces. And by the way, there was Kandinsky. There was all these different artists that were in this exhibit, all from the Hermitage, and they would have, for example, a Kandinsky from the Hermitage, and then one from the Guggenheim. And the Hermitage one looks like somebody had carried it around in their back pocket for a few years, and then finally put it on finally stretched. It was a mess. So, but then there was this pristine Monet that was sitting there, and I looked at it, and I've seen probably, I don't know, but at least 80 or 90% of all the Monets in the world. Still a hobby of mine. And this thing was bullcrap. There's no way this is a real painting. And I got as close as I could to it to see if I could smell the paint.
Yum.
It was gorgeous. So I said to the guy, this thing can't be real. I said, this has got to be a counterfeit.
I can't smell the paint.
And the guy says to me, oh, that's interesting you'd say that, because when the exhibit opened, the Art News guy, apparently the reporter from Art News, asked the Russian representative who had brought these paintings over about that exact same thing. This painting can't possibly be real. And we know that the Russians do have copyists. And why would you send around a $65 million painting? Because apparently the Russians have been ripped off twice already. And so the Russian guy gets completely bent out of shape, way beyond, he said, what was normal to be bent out of shape about it. So he suspects it probably was a fake. Anyway, so the Hermitage has got all these great paintings. I want to go see them.
All right. Maybe we can't both go to Russia at the same time.
Is that a long story or what?
Yes, it was kind of. Let's go on to, let me just do a couple quick German Wings things, since it's like on everybody's mind, and also incessantly pounded in there by the stupid CNN mainly, but everyone's, oh boy, what's going on? We have to, we have to know how crazy pilots are and how crazy everybody is, and just the suicide, blah, blah, just everyone just terrorizing. There's a great compilation video, which unfortunately only a little bit of it is in English, mainly from CNN. 2 clips from CNN and France 24, and then there's a lot of French stuff in there, which has subtitles. So I'll tell you some of what is. In that, kind of like French discussion television programs where there's a panel and experts and a well-watched program. But first, it's always fun to go back and listen to the very first reports when something of this disastrous nature happens. And you never hear these reports again, of course, because it was either wildly incorrect or it was very accurate and needs to be covered up. And so I got 2 from this video, which accentuates the misinformation that was clearly presented as fact, first from CNN right after the incident.
All we know on that right now from French authorities is that they did get a distress call and that the last words they're saying they heard were emergency. And obviously very frightening words to hear in connection with what was going on that airplane.
Isn't that great? He was pretty sure about that.
Wow, he sure missed that. That sure disappeared quick.
But this is from France 24.
Bring in Armin Georgian, who joins me now in the studio. Armin, what more do we know at this point?
Well, we know that the pilot sent a distress signal, so that does suggest some kind of major breakdown or failure during the flight at that point.
Now, on this video, on this roundtable panel discussion, there's a Air France pilot, 18-year veteran, Gérard Arnoux, and he speaks specifically to, the impossibility in the A320 of hearing the pilot's breath on the cockpit voice recorder. And we have some interesting backup from airmen who have been emailing me saying that particularly the earlier A320s are so noisy that often... crews would actually put on their entire, if it wasn't their oxygen mask, but they would really have to have closed headphones on all the time. So the idea of hearing this breathing is pretty much an impossibility.
And this was an older 320.
It was an older 320, yes. Second point, the investigators claim of hearing a beep when Lovett set the new altitude on the autopilot. This is exactly how it's described. Now, that function does not produce a beep in the cockpit. And here's the one that I didn't know. Asking why the investigators did mention the sound made by the cockpit door system, which apparently, Blair, if someone is trying to get in and has the wrong code, it has a 30-second alarm that, according to Gérard Arnoux, cannot be turned off even if you lock or relock So there's a lot of information missing from this so-called cockpit voice recorder. And
jeez,
I know. And it just got crazier. Whereas the official story initially was the flight data recorder was retrieved, but the memory chip popped out and we can't find it, which is a lie because it is not just a memory card like the one that's in your Android tablet. New. But then it got nuttier, where what they did find, someone near the crash and gave it to the same Paris Match guys who've been doing the transcriptions of the audio, which, of course, no one has actually heard. Questionable if it exists with all of these discrepancies. We found a memory chip with a video on it of the crash. And it's real.
What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, here's the Today Show. Very interesting. They interview the guy. I think the interview is interesting, and of course, what the Today Show, what Matt says at the very end.
Régis Le Sommier is deputy editor of Paris Match. Sir, good morning to you. Thank you for being with us. My first question is a simple one. Are you convinced that this video is real? And if you are, why are you convinced?
Well, I'm convinced that this is real. I mean, we've checked and investigated, and we are pretty positive about our source, which is close to the investigation team. So there's no doubt that what we saw are the final seconds of what happened on board of Airbus 320 of Germanwings. From what I saw of the video is the footage is very blurry, but the sound is very, let us no doubt that the passenger actually knew what was going on inside and knew what was going to happen.
And without revealing your source, of course, what is that source's motivation for presumably getting this piece of evidence and instead of apparently giving it to the authorities, showing it to a reporter?
Gee, John, what do you think could be the reason for that? Because it's bogus, maybe?
Well, I think that they showed it in order to prove the existence of such material. It's it's a piece. It's interesting for a number of people, including the families, of course, of the victims. It's also very interesting for a number of people that flies today. Now, the chance that this video actually appears that it was taken out of the rubble is very slim, but I can confirm you from all what we've gathered and all what we've seen, it's true.
Very, very quickly, have any of the family members reached out to your publication wanting to see this video?
Not yet. Under my knowledge at the moment, I don't think so.
Mr. Régis Le Sommier from Paris Match, thank you for your time.
We don't have the video.
Right, I understand.
Thank you.
Sir, thank you for your time.
So he said, we don't have the video. I've only seen the video. And
who's got the video?
Well, we don't know who has the video. He just saw it.
They see it.
Because the person who was close to the investigation showed it to them, probably the same person who somehow leaked the actual transcript. But there's 20 more seconds. Just listen to how they wrap this up.
A lot of us are shaking our heads this morning. Even if that video exists, it's just an incredibly poor taste for someone to show it to a reporter. Yeah. It just can be incredibly painful for the family.
Even if in some way there is some investigative value to that, then still it should be seen by about 4 people.
Yeah.
Total. It should never see the light of day.
This is so interesting to me.
What?
Yeah.
And why is it in poor taste to show it to a reporter?
Yeah. I don't know. I was flabbergasted by this response.
I'm flabbergasted by it too. And why is it important? Okay, you've got a video. Well, let's take a look at the video. Who knows about the video? I mean, it seems to me that if somebody had the video, they'd shop it to a reporter, as opposed to not giving it to authorities. Right. But let's just, I don't know what you want to assume about the video. But whatever the case is, how do you come up with the idea that it's poor taste to show it to a reporter?
You got me.
If you're a news organization.
There's so much death and destruction that is always shown on news.
They show dead kids in Palestine constantly.
I don't understand why this is not permitted. But what I again, it's just like the Boston bombing. We don't have actual evidence for you, so. We know there's something. There's something real here. And by the way, the word
"it's real," it's real, it's real.
It does not mean it is factual, correct, or true. Just because something is real doesn't mean that sure, some video exists. But using the word "real" I think is a trick. You know what I mean?
Well, that's an interesting. No, I don't. But I'm mulling it over.
Yeah, if you say something is real, what is the actual definition of real?
Well, let's look it up.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. We'll do that in the Book of Knowledge.
Consult the Book of Knowledge.
The definition of real. Let's see. Actually existing as a thing, not imagined or supposed, not imitation or artificial. Okay, genuine. Okay, so I guess you could use it. But I think genuine, authentic, bona fide would be better than real, because the initial meaning of real is it exists.
It's also an adverb synonym.
And here's something that popped up.
My head really hurts.
Something that popped up. There's this guy, Jan Kosheret, and he's kind of well known in the Dutch aviation industry, and he writes for the Dutch. I think he runs the whole magazine, Pilot and Airplane, Pilot and Airplane is the name of this magazine. And I've met him. I think he interviewed me once, maybe. And I always thought about this guy. Wow, you could be like an intelligence. You could be part of intelligence. And I read in the Daily Mail this earlier today. It emerged that Dutch pilot Jan Kosheret predicted the German wings crash several weeks ago in an article written in, it says here, in a specialist flight magazine. That's the Dutch Pilot and Plane magazine. Mr. Kosheret, who flies a Boeing 777 for Emirates Airlines, warned. Now, please note, he flies Boeing, not Airbus. Quote, I hope I never find myself in the situation where I go to the toilet and return to find a cockpit door that won't open. I seriously always wonder who is sitting next to me when I get into onto the flight deck for a flight. And I don't know, it's just one of those coincidences that just seem like a little bit too good to be true.
Too coincidental.
And
it's like a setup.
Let's
start thinking this way, people. You don't know who you're sitting next to when you're in the theater.
Yeah.
You could be a maniac. You could be then that's what we believed happened with this flight.
Afraid.
Not that the plane took itself into the mountain, because it does that.
Well, we'll probably never know.
No, we probably never will know, because they can't find the one black box for some unknown reason, although they can find videos laying around from somebody's cell phone.
Yeah.
But they can't find the black box, which is protected.
On a memory chip.
The cell phone's not.
I know.
But I've already given up. I've already decided that your initial thesis on this whole thing is correct.
Yeah.
And this thing is part of the problems that they have with this plane, which has been always kind of the same. It decides to do something.
Yes, it's made of plastic and a computer operates it.
And the computer flies the thing.
Very, very annoying.
It's fully programmed like anything else. There's a lot of code involved. A lot of code.
Yeah.
And it's not, and then they change one thing, and it causes another. There's a problem with code.
Yeah.
Change, there's a certain modularity.
How does your iPhone work when there's an upgrade from Apple?
Yeah, it falls apart.
Yeah, your battery runs down, freezes, crashes. Yeah, exactly.
I'm watching this. There's a sitcom on that I'm watching, and I will plug. And they had this scene in the sitcom where the person's holding an iPhone. It says, "Oh, hey, Bill, the new iPhone 6 just came out. Oh, that means I have to get one." And then the iPhone in his hand literally falls to pieces.
The planned obsolescence from Apple. Exactly.
The show is Tina Fey's new sitcom on Netflix, and I just hate plugging them, but it's called Unbreakable, and it's just hilarious if you like Tina Fey's screwball humor.
Yeah, I like it.
It's like one of those things you can watch all 13 episodes if you want.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that right after I finish watching all my C-SPAN playlists.
Yeah, you take your time.
Why don't we thank a few people? We have a lot of other things to talk about. New executive order from the president for cyber.
Oh, yeah, I have a clip for that.
Okay. Let's, you want to do it? No. Let me thank you for your courage and say, in the morning to you, John C., where the C stands for Cyber Dvorak.
You just don't run out of those, do you?
Nope.
Well, in the morning to you, Adam Curry. In the morning to all ships at sea, boots on the ground, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there. Also, Mr. and Mrs. America.
Yes, in the morning to everybody in the chat room, NoAgenda stream.com. Good to have you all there, helping us out. And in the morning to John Fletcher. John Fletcher, multi-talented Mr. Fletcher is. as not only does he provide the multitude of screams for this program, of course, it all started with Boo-Tan! And it's just gone on from there to become an entire thing by itself. We have the Fletcher Fest coming up, we'll talk about in a moment. He provided the art for episode 708, which was...
The guy's unbelievable.
He really is. Yeah, it was a nice piece. It was the Turn the Lights Off, I think is what it was, we had for 708. And, of course, we always appreciate all the work that every single one of our artists does. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. Did you want to say something to the artists? Because I think you had a remark about it after the show on Sunday.
I did.
And?
I forgot.
Okay.
It was like a long time ago, and it was after the show, and it was just casual conversation. And I don't know. I had something to say to the artists.
Good work, then, artists. Keep it up. Keep it up.
Artists are the best.
Keep it going.
We had, I forget what we should do. If we looked at the art, I could probably come up with it. But let's thank some people first, and then we can do that later. We have 3 executive producers who all came in with a Fletcher donation, which is nice, and 2 associate executive producers. Oh, cool. Dave Fugazotto, I guess. Fugazotto. And he's in Deutschland right now. He's an American soldier, I guess, or somebody. Not sure. It never says.
We don't know.
But he's got an APO. So 314.15, which is this donation. ITM gentlemen, another donation to the Fletcher Fest. And some value for value in support of BPITU. Best podcast in the universe. That's our new code. A quick update on the foreign service exam I took in February. Missed the cutoff by 0.28 points.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's back to the books we'll get it. For a redo next year. The karma was not defective. I placed the blame squarely on my non-donating boner status at the time. Let that be a lesson to me and all others out there who have yet to donate. In fact, perhaps John Fletcher can make a douchebag call out that we can use for a ringtone to remind them of their shame. Now, this is funny because somebody else mentioned that Fletcher asked, actually, did Fletcher ever do a douchebag?
I don't think so.
And I said, well, no, that I don't know of one. But now he's going to do one, I suppose, here. And it'll be interesting. I was just thinking, well, maybe he shouldn't because we have a jingle for douchebag. Do we need another douchebag? Well, I'll bet you before the end of the show we get one. Otherwise, I'd gratefully request some health karma for my old man. And it was worth it. And, of course, the vocal stylings of the esteemed Mr. Fletcher calling, this is what he really wants. He doesn't want douchebag, right. Even though we're going to get it, I'm sure of it. Fugazotto.
Which will be in the making. Of course,
it could be Fugazotto.
We'll have that on Sunday.
It could be Fugazotto. He never really tells us. Mm. Anyway, thanks for your courage, Dave in Deutschland.
It was worth it. It was worth it.
You've got karma.
Thomas Butterick in Flushing, Michigan. 314.15. Heil, gents.
Heil,
everybody. Please have Fletcher use my title in his shout out saying lady fingers. Lady. Nothing to report. Be well. Thomas Butterick, Sir Ladyfingers of the Displaced Texas Night of the No Agenda Roundtable, Dayton, Ohio.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Okay, now we have Eric Hoff at 314.50 from Edmonton, where all the money is in Alberta, Canada. And I didn't notice this was blank, and I'm going to look him up because I'm sure he sent something in.
While you do that, allow me to play the Fletcher Shouts, which will all be a part of the Fletcher Fest coming up from the previous episode. We have 4 as requested. Here is he did this. I don't know if we should allow this to happen. It should just be a one. The way it works best, it's either it's like the Putin, like this, or it's like the Koch brothers.
Yeah, he managed to do 2 words. This is all. I want to mention the backstory on this, by the way. This all stemmed from about 2 years ago, I believe, when I suggested that we get something, I don't know if it was the Putin one or not, based on Hogan's Heroes. Right. Because every so often, even though it was pretty rare, in fact, but it was mostly mocked and mimicked, Colonel Klink yelled, Hogan!
Mm-hmm.
And so then Fletcher showed up, and now he's become a staple.
So there was a request for this.
Eric, check your phone!
I like it, but I don't think that's in the true spirit of the Fletcher Fest. You know what I mean? Because what we're going to get now is going to have people going to have a whole slew of things they want him to scream, and I think
blow his voice out.
It also, I don't think it doesn't play as well. So, for instance, here's the Got Nate.
Got Nate!
and then this one.
You're Rush!
And here's the one that I was waiting for, which is great for everybody. You recall the executive producer who wanted to play something when the internet goes out in their office building. And this is usable for all.
Internet!
I can see that being used.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a really good one.
Internet!
Yeah, when it just doesn't work. Let's try to keep it to names.
Now, I got the note here from Eric. Eric from Edmonton. He's requested that. He made another pie donation. He loves a Fletcher call out for Eric, check your phone. Or when my wife texts me, it's he wants it as a text thing.
Right.
Which would be very annoying.
Yeah.
Because texts come in too much.
I'm just thinking, let's try and keep it to your name, people. You know, like the license plates.
Yeah, think of it as...
Yeah.
Anyway, well, you've got Eric, check your phone, so there you go.
All right.
This paragraph is part of... you may want to read on the show. A few weeks ago, you guys read out my note calling Danielle Steele out as a douchebag for putting native ads into her books, and John wanted to know more details about that. My wife can't remember the title of the book, but the ad was in, but she clearly remembered in the middle of the story, the main character came home from a rough day and was so happy to have an Oral-B electric toothbrush as part of her daily care routine.
Except I call that product placement and not a native ad per se.
No, it's true. Native ads are more elaborate.
Right.
But I would say it's product placement. I would agree with that.
Still fun.
It was packed into all of 2 paragraphs, but I'm certain that selling your story and audience out, selling them out for a vibrating toothbrush is worthy of a douchebag call out. Thank you for not doing that. Because I guess, I don't know why he didn't want that, but he just wanted to mention it.
Okay.
Anyways, he was working on his knighthood. So he's getting the Eric, check your phone. All right. Finally, we got 2 associate executive producers. Ash, $206.60 from Gitmo East, UK. The last few shows have been dynamite.
Oh, thank you.
I laughed so hard at the Seed Guy clips, I nearly crashed. Please, could I get a hey, citizen, 2 to the head, little girl, yay, karma.
Okie dokie. Let me just see. Hey, citizen, 2 to the head. Where's the hey, citizen? We haven't done that in a long time. Where's the hey, citizen?
Hey, citizen, 2 to the head, little girl, yay.
Yeah, I just can't find the hey, citizen.
Hey, citizen.
Oh, here it is. I got it. All right, let me try this one.
Hey, citizen.
That's not the right one. It's only one channel. That's not the right. Where's the hey, citizen? Oh, here we go.
Hey, citizen.
You've got karma.
He told a little story.
Well, I'll give him an extra bonus.
I know a lot of people want to send blankets or water. Just send your cash.
We just need cash.
Blankets or water.
What difference does it make?
Cash.
We need cash. We can't take that to the bank.
How good is that guy?
It's outstanding
That's
work.
Matt. Producer Matt.
And finally, last on our list is Joshua Shiney from Lewisburg, Kansas, $200. And he has a negative note. Negative Nelly Joshua comes in with, and I'll try to do it in the voice he might have. A little less jingles and more media assassination would improve the show.
Unicorns! Yay!
Okay.
Well, I can tell you that's
a little less jingles? Really?
We don't. I mean, during these segments, we play a lot of jingles, but why? Why?
Yeah.
You want a dry, boring piece of crap show, a PBS kind of thing, with a dead sound of a studio and 2 guys very serious going on and on and on about something without laughing or.
Meanwhile, in Damascus, things are.
Is that what you want for the show? Really?
There was a couple of notes. There was a tweet. Someone said, "You got SSRIs all wrong. These are not in that class." so surprised. I'm not a... Yeah, we get things wrong, and I appreciate it when people correct us.
We try to correct ourselves on the show because we have the chat room to help.
I appreciate the corrections, but I don't appreciate, I'm so surprised you got that wrong. Oh, I'm sorry. I studied as DJ. That. I talk up intros of records. I'm not a pharmacologist.
I'm stunned that you didn't know. Stunned that you didn't know that blah was blah and not blah. It's a 2, not a 3.
I can't believe you didn't mention this crash over here.
Oh, yeah, we got the crash one. Yeah. It was a crash. We got that note. I don't know what to call the guy out, but here's what he said. I'm stunned that you never mentioned the crash that happened while we were doing the show. It was on the show day.
I know.
The crash had happened. It was an Irish. It wasn't even a crash. The plane didn't take off. It was an aborted takeoff or something like that.
I think the beauty of this program is that we aren't experts in everything. We are not the experts. We have the experts built up carefully in our No Agenda Intelligence Network over
we
years.
Have an intelligence network that is second to none.
Yeah, I agree.
We have an artist network that's second to none. We do album art. We have that's our support group. What we do is that we have, I guess, a logical take on things that I think the general public has, but they never have it reconfirmed. They have a logical take. They see something. They say, this is stupid. This can't be happening. And then all the news people come around and say, oh, yeah, no, that's what's happening. That's what's happening. They get bombarded by bull crap. And we come along and say, no, that's bull crap, just like you thought.
Oh, I like the chat room. If you don't know about something, don't talk about it. No, what are you talking about? The whole point is to talk about things that we don't know about, and then magically we have people in the network who show up with information
that we don't.
I don't know. I don't care. Annoying.
It's 3 hours. We do this show twice a week. We provide 6 hours of.
If we had to talk about things we knew about,
driving their cars.
If we talked about things we knew about, it'd be a 5-minute show.
My voice goes out at about 2:45. I have to have a lozenge. I'm always being called out too. Hey, what are you eating? Something?
All right, stop. Calm down now. Calm down. I don't mind. In fact, I encourage being corrected. Please help us. No. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
We appreciate this kind of support. Really love the Fletcher Fest donations, and we need to put a cap on this. I already heard from GX2. He's very excited / he's anticipating doing something for the big Fletcher Fest when we have a whole compilation of everything. So how long will this go on?
I don't know.
Eventually, we'll have enough names. He should probably just throw in a Muhammad and a couple of those, just to help everybody out. These are official credits. Just like Hollywood, we run on the same general principle that the people who are really financing the project, certainly the executive producers and associate executive producers, are mentioned up front. And, of course, we thank everybody during our longer segment or our full segment, which is coming up, everybody above $50. And without this, the show would not be happening at all. But it is also, a lot of it is the intelligence network who give us tons of feedback, tons of input. And they are the experts in the field. And we'll have a couple examples of that today in the show with emails that came in, along with the Uber sources, John. I have a new
source of information.
I sure do.
Dvorak.org/NA.
All right, everybody, you always need to be out there doing the very important work of propagating our formula.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Shut up, slave.
Amen. Fist bump.
Shut up, slave.
In fact, why don't I start off with my Uber sources?
May I first call you out?
Yes.
Without knowing this fact, I'm going to call you out anyway. We have a guy who goes through a lot of work for us, and he gives us a lot of input too, who makes CDs, and he burns these discs, and we're supposed to give them out. Have you given any discs to any one Uber driver ever?
No. You're right. I stand corrected.
I wasn't correcting you.
No, I stand called out.
Okay.
2 drivers, and it's unfortunate that we didn't have a show because we did have an election, and I spoke to this Uber driver from Nigeria. It's amazing we got a Nigerian here in Texas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just go around more.
Now, there's a limit to what I can do on it. It's not free. I am kind of paying for the information. I'm paying.
Information.
And what I've done now is I started recording the conversation on my iPhone so that I don't. So I remember all this stuff. Now I don't have permission from these guys to play it, but I will play a little bit of it. Just so you get the idea of the conversation. So I learned something very new in Nigeria. Of course, Nigeria is where Goodluck Jonathan was just voted out, which this Uber driver predicted 2 days before. He said, this guy has got to go. And last year, when you recall, when we sent, because of Boko Haram kidnapping the girls, which he literally said, there was no girls kidnapped. This is all bull crap. He said the U.S. envoy, and of course we sent military advisors and accountants. You remember we looked at that, and there were accountants going to look into the billions of dollars of
oil wells.
Oil wells missing. They met with Buhari, so that's why he said everybody knows that Goodluck Jonathan is out. But then he says this guy stole so much oil on the back end, the Goodluck Jonathan, and he had a term which I had not heard before, and this is part of the recording of my trip.
Tanker load for him, $270 million. He gives about half of that to the different people. Everybody shut up. He put the rest in his pocket.
So he's talking about monthly $270 million that Goodluck Jonathan would be putting in his pocket, and this came from the following term. Let's see if we can hear this.
Who did that? Good luck.
Good luck?
Yes.
$270 million, you say?
$1 billion worth of tanker load of crude oil, 2 million barrels. That's what they load for him. They call it off OPEC.
Off OPEC. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
It is an entire industry. If you search it, off OPEC oil is a well-known entity. It is unreported oil that, according to my Uber source, they actually have a separate pipeline that is undocumented that siphons off this off OPEC oil for sale at a deep discount. And I find all kinds of references to this. Reuters talking about buyer beware of $10 million discounts on Nigerian oil. This is also from the off OPEC oil. I'd never heard of this term.
Yeah, I'm looking now. There's apparently a lot of off OPEC stuff, and Nigeria is commonly associated with it. Here's off OPEC Nigerian oil services.
Isn't that great?
Wow. You'd think someone would mention it.
Well, I just never heard of it, but there's a whole secondary market that is just not being reported and apparently being stolen by guys like Goodluck Jonathan. Then,
well, at least we want to see that hat anymore.
Yeah. Then the next source.
So this guy walked away with over $1 billion. Then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And that was the money that the accountants, along with the military advisors, were probably going to go looking for.
Oh, right, exactly.
Hey, man, where's that off OPEC oil? So another thing to put into the database to be on the lookout for stories about off OPEC oil. Then this guy from Syria, I got lucky, man. It's been fantastic. Now I get in the car. And there's a guy from Austin, Texas driver.
Why are all these crazy guys coming to Austin to drive Ubers?
Well, have you been to Nigeria lately? How about Syria? No.
Yeah, but Austin?
I think the climate works for him.
Well, it's very similar, yeah. It's hot.
Here's the guy from Syria. And he had a slight different take on IS. He believes that Iran is also backing ISIS, IL, IS, and says what is happening right now He says, truly, it is the Sunni Shia religious war, and that Iran wants to bring back the Farsi Empire with Baghdad as its capital. Of course, we're now about to go into the Iranian negotiations, which I have a lot of information on, including details from a new economic hitman who has reached out, and that a lot of these negotiations are really to enable Iran to police the entire region, Middle East, if we can. And his idea is if we can control Iran, then we can control the entire Middle East, and it also provides a nice counterbalance to the Saudis, who, of course, you need to control them, and not just by the typical means and the relationships we've had with them, but also by having a true counterbalance on the other side of the spectrum, religious spectrum as well. Here's a little snippet from the Syrian driver, Uber source number 2 for the week.
As far as Iran concerned, and they're not hiding it. They said we're going to bring the Farsi Empire back, and our capital is Baghdad. They're talking in the media everywhere.
Right. Well, technically, that's kind of true about Baghdad. Of course, this was not, these were not countries 100 years ago.
So this is, by the way, you need to do this if you get in a cab or anywhere we can interact with a driver. Just say, where are you from? Wait for it. And if you've listened to No Agenda for at least a while, you'll be able to say something that will make this person's eyes light up. They get so, they're so happy that, oh, wait a minute. My goodness, there's an American who understands what's really going on and isn't buying the bullcrap from the media. This is fantastic. Try it. You really will not be disappointed.
Yeah, no, I do it myself. I don't take that many cars, obviously, but like you. But I do it, and you always get good stuff. I mean, like I said, the last time I took a drive with somebody, he ended up showing me a bunch of videos I had to watch.
So then I got a very lengthy, multiple email, all encrypted from the get-go, in an exchange with a new economic hitman who I think really has his finger on the pulse of what's happening. And I'd like to read 2 pieces. It's all lengthy, so I just cut out 2 pieces that I want to talk about. One is about the Iranian control, which, so this kind of flows out from what the Syrian Uber source just said. And then about the actual nuclear discussions. And I have received from a number of people, including from German sources, the names of all the negotiators. And the reason why the Germans are in on this is because a lot of Iranian technology is German, apparently. This is what I didn't know. So that's why they're involved. And if you just take the position that we are negotiating with Iran, probably to have a nuclear capability, but certainly to control all of the Middle East, or be the weighing factor, and us having control of them, it makes a lot of sense. Here we go. A moderate, non-nuclear, but strong Iran is a perfect counterbalance to the Saudis. Don't forget that there are interests to be protected that do not allow for constant armed intervention. The Sauds must be contained. Turkey must be contained. Iraq did that when Hussein was still in place. Now Iraq is waiting to be cut up between the Jordan, Saudi Arabia, the Kurds, and Iran. But the result of that will be that there will be a power shift. Somebody, he says, probably the Sauds, will have the majority of access to both oil and gas, together with the Kurds in the north. But how can the Kurds bank on this? Only by either going through Turkey or through the Sauds. Not a good idea. If the Turks and the Sauds mess with each other, then the whole balance will tip and the tap will be closed. So rather set up a 3-way. If 2 of them fight, have a third that can moderate and ensure access. So instead of having Turkey and Saudi Arabia step into the next round of becoming the dominant power, introduce a third power that keeps the other 2 from finishing each other. And that's Iran. It's like putting a stool on 3 legs instead of 1. Create a controllable stability by having enough semi-equal parties. That should ensure that no power there will be strong enough to create a leading power of the region. If any would, the West would not just lose access to a little oil and gas, but of course would also see itself depend on this new player for the African access. And it would create a new power bloc that would include the Middle and Near East, much of Northern Africa, and parts of the Turk countries. So maintain a balance that has no clear dominance, and that does not allow anybody to break out of the scheme without making oneself vulnerable. I think that's viable. And that sounds like pretty much a neocon type of
guy
plan.
sounds more like an analyst than he does an economic hitman to me.
He's giving me okay.
He's a spook.
Yes, and he is okay. We'll just call him the spook. He's provided information to us before, but now I know that he's. I think he's for real. He's for real because he exists.
Yeah, there you go. Real.
Exactly.
He's real.
He's real.
Well, that sounds like when you consider the idea that maybe the Iranians will get the nuke and. Baghdad's interesting. Yeah.
Well, here's this is the stuff I have no idea is if it's correct or not, and I'm going to send this to.
I know that the Iranians would like to do this.
Sure. Here's what I'll be sending to Atomic Rod Adams about the negotiation and the centrifuges and what this is about. This is just a little technical, but he seems to know what he's talking about. So the question is, how many centrifuges does Iran need to A, supply for atomic energy programs, and B, build the bomb? The key to nuclear fission weapons is based on enrichment. That means that from a lump of dust, you want to increase the concentration of certain isotopes. The isotopes need to be fissionable, U-235 is the target, and they must come in a certain density to allow for various types of chain reactions. For energy production, the density, the amount of U-235 required, is relatively low, and the purity required is also low. For weapons, the density must only be slightly bigger. It starts at 20%, but that gives you a very unreliable and inefficient device. Usually 85% is the target. However, purity becomes a critical issue. Now, enrichment works in stages. You essentially, and he said essentially, put the input material into a solution, transform that into a gas, and then pump that through a centrifuge. The centrifuge separates atoms by mass. U-235 has a mass different from other elements and their isotopes. However, centrifuges only separate into two masses, so you get a heavy and a light output. And here it comes. Since the input is a mixture of all kinds of stuff, you need several stages for enrichment. For density increase, only a few stages are required. For purity increase, you need a lot of stages. So he says the various stages of centrifuges put in series is called a cascade. Multiple cascades in parallel are called a matrix. So the longer the cascades, the better for purity. The bigger the matrix, the more total output. So for doing weapons grade, you need a lot of stages, meaning a lot of centrifuges, to get enough uranium. To get fuel for nuclear power, you need shorter cascades, but a lot more of them. So he says the whole idea of how many centrifuges you need is complete bullcrap. And that number, and the number of the centrifuges is just an obfuscation of what they're really negotiating on, which is the matrices and the number of parallels, which comes back to our...
What you read doesn't make sense then.
I'm sorry?
What you read doesn't make sense based on that last comment. Because the description that you had sounds like there would be a variable number of centrifuges under whatever
3,000 to 5,000 are in negotiation, yeah.
Well, then why does the number not mean anything?
Well, the way I understood it is that it is about in order to create fuel, you need a lot. The way it's being positioned is the more centrifuges, the more likelihood of creating a nuclear weapon. And the way I understand it is almost exactly the opposite, that you need a lot more in the parallels or for a matrix in order to create nuclear fuel. So the centrifuges are not just about creating the purity of it.
Yeah, no, I understand that part.
Okay.
But the comment that the number of centrifuges is meaningless, which was the last thing, whatever that was that you were reading.
Well, the number of centrifuges as the marker for whether a country can build a nuclear weapon or not. I think that's the point.
Well, it was very confusing what you just said.
I'm just reading.
Yeah, I know. Well, whatever that guy said, what he said was confusing. Who was that? Is that the same guy?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Well,
summarizing would have been better.
This is already a summary. There's no way to summarize. I think it's complicated. His point is that
we brought this up in a previous episode that the number of centrifuges may not have anything to do with anything.
Well, then this would be
which is the summary, which in fact is a summary. It has nothing to do with anything. I don't think the discussion of cascades versus, the light versus heavy and all the rest of it, it just confuses things.
So it's not the number of centrifuges, it's the depth of the matrix.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Atomic Rod will help us out.
Yeah, that's Atomic. He can summarize.
Yes. And he's celebrating his 20th anniversary, I think, of Atomic, 20th or 10th or 50th. I don't know. He's got some kind of celebration of his Atomic Insights, Atomic Insights blog. Yeah, he's another one of those professionals we work with.
So I'm watching some mainstream TV. Change the topic unless you got something else. Well, let's talk. So we're going to be international. Let's talk about the Turkey shootings, only for the reason that there's some action going on in Turkey as usual. But
I'm sorry.
But only for the reason that when he throws it or she throws it to the reporter has this cadence that I want to maybe discuss for a second, because it's a style of reporting that is comical.
2 deadly shootouts in 2 days across in Turkey after police shot and killed an armed female assailant. Officials say the woman and a companion were trying to attack Istanbul police headquarters, the second attack in an official building in the past 2 days. It follows Wednesday's hostage-taking, which left a top prosecutor dead after he was seized by leftist militants. Solange Moujin has more.
Carrying guns and explosives. In these amateur images, the woman lying on the ground outside Istanbul's police headquarters has just been shot dead after trying to attack with an accomplice the Turkish capital's main police headquarters. Investigators have taken the accomplice in for questioning to find out why they targeted the police. Turkey's president denounced the attack and called for heightened security.
All right. So there's something going on, but this seems like pretty routine. But it's this woman's report that got to me, because the way she talks about the police and heightened security. And this is exactly what our $200 donor wants this show to become.
No. Well, NPR's podcasting revenues are up. They've doubled year over year.
Oh, yeah? What are they? They must be up to millions.
Yeah, they probably are. Of course, none of the local stations are getting that, which is what will kill the NPR network long term.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're going to continue this.
They're not. They can't. They won't. Something has to change. And
Molly Wood, of course, has gone there.
Oh, that's right.
I ran into her at the party.
She can do this. She can do this cadence. She can do the NPR thing. I'm sure she can.
Well, yeah, with the dead room and the whole. Yeah, I think she probably. I never heard her do it, but I bet you she can too.
Is she working there already?
I think she starts shortly.
And what party was this? This was a key.
I went over to the party. I don't get out of the house that much.
No,
but I drove over there.
To what party?
It was the 10th anniversary of Buzz Out Loud, a long gone podcast.
Yeah, really?
It's not. It hasn't been. I think they. 5 years at least or longer. I don't know. Huh. And so they had this event that was like a Buzz Out Loud show videoed at this Hack 5 operation, which is kind of interesting. It's they do podcasting. Hack 5 does. And they are mostly, and I would recommend watching a few of them because they're extremely high-end hacking shows. About gear and stuff that it's actually beyond me, okay. but I find it fascinating, and so Molly was there with Tom Merritt and Victoria Belmont, and so I went there to see what was going on, and I got some gossip. I found out that Molly's quit the New York Times and she's going to work for Marketplace, which is the show on NPR NPR, and okay, I don't know what I guess should be the tech person, and I guess she's happy as a clam doing that. And then I found out by listening to what they were talking about, Victoria Belmont's kind of just quit tech.
Yeah, well, it happens.
I don't know what she's doing. And then I ran into a few other people. I ran into Leo Laporte's old guy. I don't know what to call her. She's kind of
one of his ex-wives,
handyman. This is Colleen, the woman who set up the original cottage.
She's married to Tom's wife.
No, Tom's wife. No, Colleen is a tall.
Why are we talking about this?
You asked me.
No, you had some point about this. You had some point. I just said what party. I didn't say who was there and who was Tom's wife.
That's the party. Yeah. Well, then that's when I found out that Molly's working for Marketplace, and you're right. She can sound like an NPR person.
Okay, fine.
Okay, I quit. I stopped.
Please stop now. I saw a guy on Fox. Lieutenant General Michael T. Flynn talking about
Fox.
Yeah, I've never seen him before, so I'm scanning around. I see this guy, and he starts explaining almost to a T with the West Clark 7 of what is going on in the Middle East. And at first I'm like, he's using some words that I don't like. He's using some phrases, but then I looked him up, and this guy, he was the director of a deputy director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, and he was like pushed out or he quit in a huff, just last year. And he's not with any, he's not with a consultant. He's not consulting for some war.
Give me his name again.
It's Lieutenant General Michael T. Flynn. And so it was 2014. He abruptly announces.
He does have the Michael T. Flynn Foundation.
Okay, but he's not with.
Oh, this is a different Michael T.
I
Flynn.
think it must be.
Yeah.
He's not with any war or military industrial complex type outfit. He's written a couple books. He did serve as a top intelligence advisor to McChrystal in Iraq and Afghanistan, and he wrote in 2010 a scathing report titled "Fixing Intel."
You're out.
Yeah. So, but the fact that he isn't at any other outfit, gave me pause. And I said, well, let's listen to what he has to say and take it with that information in mind, that he's not your typical shill that is being brought.
Right, he's not a shill.
Not a shill.
2 big points. One, where we are, and then what do we do about it? And I think where we are right now, we have almost a complete breakdown of order in the Middle East. A new Middle East is essentially struggling to be born. The second thing is we have Iran on the march. Iran is clearly on the march. As Jennifer Griffin's comments highlighted, both in Iraq, also Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, and other parts of the Middle East. We have a takeover of Islam by radical extremists, and I think that this is very dangerous, and it's both Shia and Sunni. We can't forget that. We also have what I would call a real sort of a pushback by the Sunni governments and their lack of trust and their lack of respect for the United States. And I think that at the end of the day, we have just this incredible policy confusion, never mind what our strategy is to execute that policy.
But let me ask you about that, because it seems to be a patchwork of alliances where in some countries we're on the side of Saudi Arabia and the Sunnis. In other countries, like Iraq, we're on the side of the Shia and Iran. Can that work?
Yeah. So let me just start by saying, as an intelligence officer, intelligence has to be part of the calculus of every strategic level decision.
I know.
And right now, my sense of where the policy is at is sort of, and I hate to say it like this, but it's almost a policy of willful ignorance. And to me, we have some major problems that we are dealing with. And here we are talking to Iran about a nuclear deal with this almost complete breakdown of order in the Middle East.
What do you think? The thing that annoyed me, of course, was the calculus, and he also said at the end of the day,
like a guy that's been there. I'm looking at his record. He was in the office. He actually became the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency in April of 2012. Then he wrote a paper, another one, I guess, Vision 2020, Accelerating Change Through Integration, a broad look at how the Defense Intelligence Agency must transform to meet the national security challenges for the 21st century.
Oh, he's got to go.
So he was out in April 2014, and he announced his retirement. So,
well, he kind of confirms the Iranian thing, although not saying that. He says there's no strategy, that we don't know what. And I kind of tend to believe that there is no cohesive strategy. Certainly not between the president and state. Yeah.
There may be a strategy that is by the puppet masters. if you want to look at it from that perspective. That there may not be a strategy by anyone who's actually doing anything, but there may be things have been set in place knowing what the outcome will be. We're talking about the Soroses of the world type people. That it's a foregone conclusion what's going to happen. And that was the plan all along.
Right.
Even though the people doing the activity don't know what the hell is going on, which is what he implies.
Right. And it will all result in rebelization.
Well, yeah, rebelizing is always the end result, and that's fantastic.
CBC Radio had they have a call-in show, and there was a funny bit. Of course, the Scandinavia is all in now on the self-radicalizing, people going around, going to kill everybody, be afraid. They just took our template and moved it over. And this guy calls in, and it was kind of, it could have been a no agenda list, and if he had thrown an ITM in there, I would have loved it. And he suggests a book, which I don't think we've discussed on the show, which I've ordered and I'm going to read. And he also just says something funny as it pertains to the 6-week cycle of the FBI.
Syria. Now, what are you suggesting, Mehdi?
What I am saying is the whole thing doesn't make sense to me, because the authority, if they are monitoring these people, they know who is radicalizing them, they know who is meeting with them, they know how. And there was that apartment in Calgary that they could have, eavesdropping. They knew exactly what's going on.
So what role can the community play in a micro role? I hear your point about monitoring by authorities and the sort of general.
Yes, you didn't actually hear the point. The point that he's making is they're doing the same thing. They're monitoring them. They know exactly what these guys are doing.
Overview. But let's micro it for communities in Canada. What role should or could they play?
How could they play any role when they don't know? Suhana, there is a book called Terror Factory by Trevor Aronson. He's a reporter in United States. He looked at all the terror incidents in United States, and his finding was alarming. 99% of all the so-called incident of terror and radicalization in United States was initiated and supported by FBI agents.
Okay.
We see, for example, here right now, we have 2 court cases.
Get him off!
I don't have time to get into this, actually, Mehdi. I don't, because I want to. Listen.
Shut up! Get him off.
Okay, you got clip of the day for that.
I think you've been too easy with clips of the day.
God, just give it. Take it. Take it with a simple thank you. Thank you. Because it had everything. It had a guy revealing the truth. It had
getting shut off.
Suggestion for a book, and then getting kicked off the air. I don't have time for this bull crap. Get out of here.
It's perfect. So I've ordered the book. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I'm getting a copy too.
We'll see what happens. This is great.
Terror Factory. I'm sure it's what we've been talking about the whole time.
I have a red book entry I'd like to hand out.
Okay, I'm here.
I'd like to put in there. The president is going to visit Jamaica. And there's been a lot of reporting. I'm sorry?
Oman.
There's a lot of reports on why he's going there, particularly coming out of the island of Jamaica. And
Ganja man.
Well, I'm going to make a prediction. And this could fall under a 6-week cycle, although it may be I don't know if the FBI has this reach. I am going to say terrorist attack on a cruise ship. That would be, if I were running this, that's what I would do.
It's been done before, by the way.
When was this? And was this part of the 6-week cycle? No.
This was, I think, in the 70s, maybe, or the 80s. It was the 70s. It was a terrorist attack on a cruise ship. You just Google it, you'll find it.
Okay. So they know how to do it. The plan is already
been done.
It's been done. It's been done.
A bunch of people killed, and it was one of these news things. I remember it. I don't remember the year, obviously, but I remember when it happened, and it was it. That was the cat's meow for like a month.
It would be fantastic, and have it happen in the Caribbean. This is where you got a lot of cruise ships. It's about time. We have a lot of oil there. We need to up the presence. We already have the international community there with the law of the seas.
The Achille Lauro.
What?
This is the ship. It was the Achille or the Achille Lauro. It was 1985, taken over by the Palestinian Liberation Front. Hijacked by members of the Palestinian Liberation Front in 1985. Yeah, Achille, I think was how you pronounce it.
Can you imagine what kind of a bonanza a cruise ship attack would be? I mean, the thing's got to sink if you really want to do it right. People got to die.
If this was sunk or
sink.
not. Let's see.
And then we can move.
Yeah, the ship caught fire and sunk.
Then we can move military into Jamaica. Very strategic.
Well, you're calling the event and the location.
Yes,
it's a double.
It's a double entry.
You get 2 points if this happens.
Oh, come on! That's a 3-pointer. If both happen, that's an automatic 3-pointer.
Well, we'll have to discuss that in the meeting.
I think the Caribbean is the next theater.
It needs to be rubbleized.
No, not rubbleized. No.
Yes.
No, don't rubbleize it.
Yeah.
No, we like Jamaica as a vacation destination. We're not going to do that. No.
Yes.
No.
Be rubbleized.
No, it will not be rubbleized. No, it will not be rubbleized. No. But I am putting it in there. I'm putting it up at the top.
So it happened in 85. So that's a different cycle. 85, 2015.
Speaking of cycles, I wanted to mention something to you, you being the cycle guy. Ripped jeans.
Ripped jeans.
Can this be an indicator of an economic cycle because they're back?
Yeah, actually, it could be. These are called coincident indexes, and they do come and go. I think a better one was my Bitcoin and his Beanie Babies, but I may have an actual more like Beanie Babies fad.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of investment bullcrap kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Play Sneaker Pawn.
Okay.
Yes.
Can somebody bring? How does that work?
Used shoes basically will take an exclusive sneaker and we'll analyze it and tell you, whether we can take it or not.
This is a used sneaker right here.
Yeah, this is a used sneaker right here. And
this sneaker, the original price was $7,200. Going used right now, that's a $5,000 shoe still. Going used. So it just gives you an example of how valuable sneakers. Sneakers is like Herman bags and Louis Vuitton bags. Yeah.
This shoe is $5,000.
That shoe is $5,000.
$5,000.
All right. Did he say what kind of bag did he say?
Hermes.
Did he mean Hermes?
Probably.
Jeez. $5,000.
$5,000
for a used sneaker.
Man, you can go to Tom Ford and get some damn gator. This is a $5,000 shoe?
It's a $5,000 shoe.
That's the only one that came in that size.
And that's something that's sitting in people's closets. And they need cash. They need money. So Sneaker Pawn coming on the scene was just like, wow, you know what? I could liquidate this and get some cash and get some money. And it's used, and Sneaker Pawn still.
So a guy could come in with this shoe that's worth $5,000.
Yes.
He needs some money.
Yes.
You be in a pawn shop, you're not going to give him $5,000.
No, we give him $500 for that shoe.
You give him $500.
$500. Now, worst case scenario, he doesn't come back. We can sell the shoe for $2,500, and we still, Chase still made a good profit on his money. So that's just how the numbers is in the sneaker game. That's just emerging every single day.
The business is really taking off.
All right, okay.
Huh? Sound like a bubble to you?
Come on. Yeah, $5,000 sneaker. What show is this from?
Steve Harvey.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe this is an opportunity now to read a little bit from one of my favorite authors. This is new work that was uncovered by our producer, Chris Holman. As you know, I'm a big fan of Theodore Kaczynski's Industrial Society and Its Future, that being the Unabomber Manifesto. Not that I'm a fan of killing people or bombing people, but when someone goes to those extremes, it's probably worth reading. And I read it, and I keep seeing him being right. Chris was looking for this, and he found an Amazon giblet, which includes the famed manifesto, but also something called the Unnamed Essay from 1971. And he pulled a couple of quotes out of this, which were just astounding, realizing this was written over 40 years ago. And 3 pieces. One is, and this pertains, of course, to the craziness that we're seeing in the world, the effect of media on society. Note the increasing extent to which the average person today is, quote, living in the movies, as the saying is. People spend a large and increasing amount of time submitting to canned entertainment rather than participating in spontaneous activities, as overcrowding and rules and regulations curtail opportunities for spontaneous activity, and as the developing techniques of entertainment make the canned product even more attractive, we can assume that people will live more and more in the world of mass entertainment. 40 years ago, not bad. Foreshadowing of Common Core. Children will be taught by methods which will become increasingly effective as educational psychology develops to be creative, inquiring, appreciative of the arts and sciences, interested in their studies. Perhaps they will even be taught nonconformity. But of course, this will not be merely random nonconformity, but creative nonconformity. Sound familiar, John? This creative, like how you get to the answer? Creative nonconformity simply means nonconformity that is directed towards socially desirable ends. For example, children may be taught, in the name of freedom, to liberate themselves from irrational prejudices of their elders. Irrational prejudices being those values which are not conducive to the kind of society that most educators choose to regard as healthy. Children will be educated to be racially unbiased, to abhor violence, to fit into society without excessive conflict, by a series of small steps, each of which will be regarded not as a step towards behavioral engineering, but as an improvement in educational technique. This system will become so effective that hardly any child will turn out to be other than what the educators desire. It will become a form of psychological compulsion. And then, technology has already made it, 40 years ago, technology has already made it impossible for us to live as physical, independent beings. For the skills which enabled primitive man to live off the country have been lost. We could survive only by acting as components of a huge machine which provides for our physical needs. And as technology invades the domain of mind, it is safe to assume that human beings will become as dependent psychologically on technology as they now are physically. We can see the beginning of this already in the inability of some people to avoid boredom without television, in the need of others to use tranquilizers in order to cope with the tensions of modern society. I think this guy nails it.
Well, I think he nails the intent. There's actually an ongoing special on racism, which is ever since Ferguson, this has become a hot spot, and it's almost as though the whole thing was planned. And in this case,
I'm shocked.
Yeah, you should just drop that clip in there.
Yeah, I will.
This racism things, and so the NewsHour had this thing, and this is a long piece, so I cut only a bit of it, and I took some of the stuff out. But it was to show the premise was that the millennials, which is what this guy would be talking about, have been brainwashed into being less racist, and they consider themselves, and I'm surrounded by millennials, at least 4 of them that I can observe. And they have fooled themselves into believing a whole bunch of things about themselves as a group. And this racism thing is one of them. And they're not racist. They're different. They're old farts are crazy. And I have some photos I took of some of the graphs they did on this report, which I'm going to put in the next newsletter. And these graphs are important to look at because they're very screwy. But that's got nothing to do with what I'm about to say. So they did these tests, and the report went on. Sriva Navi, whatever his name is, that Indian guy who's on the PBS News, I can't pronounce his name. He went through the testing of to see how you are naturally racist or how your biases work. And the first thing they did was they tested on associative white faces and black faces, and the second thing they did was you had to shoot a gun at a figure that hit. If the guy had a gun, and you could play the clip, and then we'll break it up as it goes along. It's
all races,
it's
were
racism in PBS One,
to select their own. All women, regardless of race, had preference for white males. All non-black profiles, both men and women, had a statistical dislike of black profiles.
Dating, you judge people reflexively in the same way that you might. It's maybe not the same, but similar to how you might judge someone at a job interview or when they try to rent your apartment or apply for a loan. It's very much the data of the first impression.
Interestingly enough, Amodio's first test results found that my sentiments actually showed a slight preference toward black faces, that I had no problem associating positive words with darker skin. That's not the norm. More than half the population who have taken the exam take less time to put negative words next to black faces.
So I'm showing a preference in one way or another according to the test. Yeah. It's just not the way that 51% are showing it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
51%, stop. 51% is no big deal one way or the other. It's so 51% see blacks as negative and 49% see them as positive, and the other way or the other way around. So that's not even. So this first test is meaningless.
Yeah.
It shows that everybody's pretty even about everything. Yeah. So, but the second part is the more interesting one, and it apparently applies to the millennials.
But this is where it gets interesting. In the second test, where I had to react almost on instinct and decide whether to shoot or not based on what I thought was in someone's hand, I was faster at shooting armed blacks than armed whites, and I was far more likely to shoot an unarmed black man than an unarmed white one. Sadly, that is the national norm, including for millennials. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Hari Srinivasan, reporting from New York.
Racist, horrible racist millennials. Shooting the black man.
So the millennials are still shooting the blacks.
Wow, not so good. Well, then I'll play this. This is, of course, we just discussed the schooling and we just discussed the millennials. Let's look at the brand new generation. Billy from Indy, longtime boner, apologized for that. He says, I attached the clip here from the children's program, Pocoyo. Pocoyo uses his power at Earth Hour 2015. And this is what his 2-year-old daughter, Lotta, was watching. This is a cartoon for preschool kids.
Welcome to Earth Hour. Use your power to change climate change. Pocoyo, our world is under threat from climate change. Temperatures are rising rapidly as the levels of greenhouse gases are increasing quickly. The impact of climate change can be terrible, causing extreme droughts that threaten people, vitally important species, and their habitats. The icy Arctic is warming at a rate of almost twice the global average, leading to melting glaciers, which raise sea levels. Oh, it seems that Pocoyo has an idea. Oh, great! Pocoyo is planting a tree. By planting trees, we can help stop climate change. You can also support a project at earthhour.org. This year, Pocoyo is supporting Beacon for the Sundarbans, a project that aims to raise funds to provide solar-powered electricity to 1,000 homes in the Sundarbans, a rural community in India. Find out more about how Pocoyo and his friends are joining forces and using their power to change climate change. And support Earth Hour's social and environmental projects all over the world.
Yeah. This is for kids.
I had a clip a couple of shows ago. We never played it, but I'll just give you a brief summary. They have this thing every year called Earth Hour, where you turn your power off for an hour.
Your lights,
Your lights.
Mm-hmm. Not your power, your lights.
Your lights. Well,
please leave your computer and your DVR and everything on. Yeah. The stuff.
You should go downstairs and
keep your power, keep your car plugged in, keep it charging. Yeah. Turn off your lights, okay?
Yeah. So they had this local report and said, here's San Francisco Bay Area, and here's the hour. And they show the view of the bay, of the San Francisco from a distance. Mm-hmm. The top of the top little decorative part of the Transamerica Pyramid went off. Not a single other thing changed. Nobody turned off anything. Nothing.
Yeah.
And then so it was like, oh, isn't that great? And they made a big deal out of it. They said, and in New York, and they showed, the
Empire State Building,
decorative building. Those lights went. Nothing else went out. Nobody pays attention to this crap.
Well, it's poorly marketed. They don't do a good job of it.
It's very poorly marketed. Well, I think the first year it was well marketed. But meanwhile, since we're talking about students and schools and everything, which kind of leads to the Common Core, especially that analysis, then this comes up. Play the cheating in school clip.
Okay.
A jury in Atlanta has convicted 11 former public school teachers, principals, and administrators on racketeering charges tied to cheating on standardized tests. The convictions came on the 8th day of jury deliberations after a 6-month-long trial that details systematic cheating in more than 40 schools involving more than 170 educators and administrators. 35 people were indicted, and prior to the trial, more than 20 pleaded to lesser charges. Fulton County District Attorney Paul Howard spoke afterward about the impact he hoped the trial will have.
Our entire effort in this case was simply to get our community to stop and take a look at our educational system. That's what we wanted. We wanted people to look at the educational system that their children attended every day, to make some assessment. After they made that assessment, to look to see what we had to do as a community to move forward.
Signs of widespread cheating in the Atlanta schools were first uncovered in 2008 by an Atlanta Journal-Constitution investigation. Kevin Riley is the editor, and he joins me now. Kevin Riley, welcome to the program. Explain to us again what the charges were. How did cheating on a school test become something that people may go to prison for?
Well, in the end, we all have to remember that there were bonuses and financial incentives tied to the performance of students on these test scores. So in the end, teachers and administrators and principals have to attest to the validity of the tests. And that's really how the prosecutor pursued racketeering charges, because his case was based on illegal activity in the guise of a legitimate enterprise.
Not an enterprise.
Legitimate enterprise.
It's not an enterprise. Do we know what the meaning of an enterprise is? Not the school district. It's not an enterprise. If it is, that's telling you something screwy.
Well,
this is a bullcrap situation. They put these people in.
Yeah,
they're going to get screwed.
If the students don't perform, then it's not so much if they perform well they get incentives. It's if they don't perform well they can get fired. Yeah, disincentives. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not the way it should go. Well, this is just the first of many, I think, or many of these such cases.
I think there's cheating going on all over the place. The kids are all for it. They don't care.
Shocked to find that gambling is going on in here.
Nailed it. Finally.
Jingles.
Finally nailed it. Yeah.
It's about time.
Yeah. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's no other way for these educators to keep their jobs. They have to have high performance scores, and the kids have to do it. So whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's corrupt. This because corruption is created by the government. This is corruption created by the government. This wouldn't have happened if you didn't have this stupid system in place.
Well, it's even worse.
There's their innocence. These people.
It's worse. It's not just government. It's by fascism. Collusion between private enterprise of Pearson and Microsoft.
That's true. It's fascism. It's corporatism.
Corporatism, fascism. Yeah, in the true sense of the word. Yes. Oh, I'm glad I don't have young kids anymore.
I just homeschool them. You can cheat on the tests at home. All right. You want to go to the Obama thing, punishing hackers?
Yeah, you
have the clip that introduces.
You have the clip here? Okay, here we go. Yes, and I have the executive order which just came out.
President Obama has signed off on a new way to hit back at foreign hackers with sanctions. His executive order signed today imposes penalties for stealing trade secrets or damaging computer systems. Companies that knowingly profit from such attacks could also be targeted.
No, this is aimed at the Chinese.
Yeah.
Most of the companies profiting from the attacks, they don't know who these people are.
Well, I have the exact wording of the executive order, and I have a number of things in the show notes for people to peruse through, which includes the fact sheet, always so handy. And I have some feedback on the actual attacks that's apparently took place. This is the executive order blocking the property of certain persons engaging in significant malicious cyber-enabled activities. And this is where I want to give pause and say right off the bat, we need a pure definition of cyber. It has just become, this word that everyone accepts. I don't know if it's in the federal, the Dictionary Act, if they've included this word cyber, the words like hacking. You know, what is the act of hacking? Is that the same as being a node on a DDoS attack? I think that a lot of definition is needed. But here's some of the text here. As any person determined by the Secretary of the Treasury. So it's the Secretary of the Treasury who will be determining if you are a cyber criminal, in consultation with the Attorney General and the Secretary of State, to be responsible for or complicit in or to have engaged in directly or indirectly cyber-enabled activities, whatever that means, originating from or directed by persons located.
What is...
Yes. Go ahead. Ask.
It's just annoying. I mean, there's the use of the word cyber.
And cyber enabled.
What does that even mean?
Well, while I'm reading this, can you check and see if the Dictionary Act has this included? I think that gets updated. Cyber enabled activities originating from or directed by persons located in whole or in substantial part outside the United States that are reasonably likely to result in or have materially contributed to a significant threat to the national security, foreign policy, or economic health or financial stability of the United States, that have the purpose or effect of. So that whole paragraph right there said, even if it didn't work, if you only contributed by, I don't know, maybe you provided server space, whatever it is you did, you can pretty much be implicated in this, as long as it had the purpose or effect of A, harming or otherwise significantly compromising the provision of services by a computer or network of computers that support one or more entities in a critical infrastructure sector, which is everything. B, significantly compromising the provision of services by one or more entities in a critical infrastructure sector. C, causing a significant disruption to the availability of a computer or network of computers. There's your DDoS. So you'll be screwed, and we'll find out what that screwing is in a moment. D, causing a significant misappropriation of funds or economic resources, trade secrets, personal identifiers, or financial information for commercial or competitive advantage or private financial gain. That could be all of Wall Street, as far as I'm concerned. And then, of course, any person determined by the Secretary of the Treasury. So if we don't like how you look, son, we're gonna pin it on you. Yeah. So it's all of that, or any person determined by the Secretary of the Treasury. Done. So
this is like a scandalous.
Mm-hmm. Well, no one reads these things, John. No one reads these. I hereby find the unrestricted immigrant and non-immigrant entry into the United States of aliens determined to meet one or more. So this is what will happen to you. You will not be allowed to enter the United States. Any transaction. I don't mean that. Oh, and this is, so they say persons who do this.
Sounds like if you root your phone.
Well, let me think about it for a second. Could that fall under any of the clauses? Let me see. It depends on what happens with the rooting. Could be if somehow your phone is then taken over, or some malicious code gets onto it that isn't approved by Google. I'm sure could be. Of course, they talk about persons, but in this case,
this is one of those laws they pass, so everybody in the country will be guilty at some point or another. Yes. They can throw the book at you.
Now, remember, it's not a law; it's an executive order, so there is a difference.
Worse.
Mm-hmm. The term "person" means an individual or entity. I just want everyone to know that, because everyone's all freaked out about the Religious Freedom Act and persons. And in American law, it's always been a person. A U.S. person means a company, any type of entity. It's not just one human being. It's always been that way. Don't act so fucking surprised. The term entity means a partnership, association, trust, joint venture, corporation, group, subgroup, or other organization, such as the No Agenda family. Podcast listeners could be an organization, a partnership. And the term United States person means any United States citizen, permanent resident, alien, entity organized under the laws of the United States or any jurisdiction within the United States. And you will be, your money can be frozen. You will be blocked entry. The only thing they're saying here that kind of protects us is that you have to be outside of the United States. So it could not necessarily mean you as a person in the country. This is very interesting that it happens at this moment, and maybe this is where our 6-week cycle will come from. It's based on some information of the latest attacks from, China. We have a dude named Ben, China and Russia. We have a dude named Ben. He sent in the following note. He goes anonymous. Not sure if you saw it. There was a minor kerfuffle last week regarding some state government sites being brought down by a new Russian hacking group, Vikingdom 2015. Had you heard about this?
No, I have not. Tell me.
Okay, so we have actually I have a news article here. Let me just bring this up for a second. There's here, hackers disable main.gov website for a second day in a row. And of course,
Maine.gov?
Yeah, as in the state of Maine. And this list,
these are the Russians?
Yes, this list, Vikingdom.
What do they got against Maine?
Well, I don't know. If you look at the Vikingdom, let me see. They have a target list, which all these links in the show notes. They have a target list, which would be Maine.gov, Mass.gov, Wyoming.gov, all these .gov websites, and it's the Destroy America at Vikingdom 2015 target list to destroy America. And this, of course, it's the Russians. Obviously, we know this. So here's what our dude named Ben says. I'm a dude named Ben for a company that does traveler information services for 15 state and city transportation agencies, several of which were on the Vikingdom target list, and that's the ones I just read. The relevant part and reason I'm writing this is that it had nothing to do with Russia at all. When they tried to overwhelm our systems, I caught them in the act after monitoring went off a few days in a row at the exact same time. The IP addresses they were attacking from were in IP space owned by U.S. military, and the reverse DNS was all af.mil. And then he has an imager link so you can see for yourself. The IP address 132.3.49.81 is registered to the 754th Electronic System Group as listed in reverse DNS as af.mil. He has a whole reverse DNS. No idea what good it does for the Air Force to attack government contractors. That's a pretty funny chair force, other than to try to pin it on Russia.
Sure.
But you think that at least try to spoof their IP address in that case. So obviously this is another... and he says it wasn't.
Are you kidding me? What a story.
Yeah.
I can't play the gambling guy again. Jeez.
Yeah, this is how it goes.
I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So the one guy, our dude named Ben, one of our many, just does a simple reverse lookup and finds a huge block of domain, the IPs that they can quickly ramble through without having to use anybody else's. And it's just a bunch of government guys.
And we have an executive order all of a sudden.
What are we going to do? Can you imagine the meetings? Well, Sergeant, what do you think we're going to do? Well, we're going to attack the Congress. No. God's sake, no.
No.
What are we going to do? Attack Maine. Go after the government of Maine. Who's going to care? And then make a list of all the stuff we're going to do. But just be careful, for God's sake. If you bring down Maine's government side, who gives a crap? What if we have to do another one? Do Wyoming.
Yeah. WYO.gov. Yeah.
WYO.gov. And then just says the Russians, we got this covered. They'll fall for this. Yeah. Mainstream media, especially, they don't know what's going on. Well, in fact, the mainstream media doesn't know what's going on. You got to play this one. Chicago PD reverses the signal.
Found this GPS device tucked up under the rear axle of the trailer. Thought you might want to take a look. Yeah, it's weird. Shipping company uses dashboard GPS.
No, dummy. That GPS actually belongs to whoever was shipping the heroin. You would probably want to track $2 million worth of product, too.
Mouse, can you reverse the signal? Figure out where it's being tracked from? It's easy peasy. You call me dummy?
Yeah. So reverse the dumb stuff.
What was that from?
It was from Chicago PD, which is a Dick Wolf show, and they're going to reverse the signal.
That's right.
So the GPS will somehow
broadcast
who's receiving the signal from this whatever it is.
Yeah,
just reverse the signal and see who's listening.
When you have executive orders and laws being put in place with nefarious, non-meaningful words such as cyber, hacker. These things are meaningless. There is no descriptive. These are not descriptors. There is no news reporting on any of this that is of any value whatsoever. In fact, the general population doesn't give a shit. They don't care. They hear hacking or whatever, as long as my phone works. As long as my
Hey man, I heard that like the Maine, state of Maine's website was hacked by the Russians.
Yeah, man. Fucking Putin, man.
They're apparently after Wyoming next.
You know what? If they change that law in Indiana, Putin's going to go hack Indiana.gov.
Yeah, in fact, I'm surprised that hasn't happened already.
If there's a need for a rescue mission, when the world is threatened, when the world needs help, it calls on America. And that's the story.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
You have some people to thank for show 709, I believe is the number.
Now, we had a special going on here, which is for Easter, which coincides with your 63rd birthday?
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And Easter, because I have had Easter falls on my birthday because I have Sunday birthdays every 7 years. That's what is typical. Mm-hmm. And every Sunday that falls on, which is every 7 years, I've always expected to be Easter. But no, it happens randomly. As 2 newsletters ago, I had a chart that shows where Easter falls into place. It has something to do with the equinox. It's got some screwball pagan calculation. Okay. So I don't get my birthday on Easter that much. In fact, I've never had it as a grown-up on Easter ever.
And how disappointing has that been for you?
It's been very disappointing.
Since you celebrate Easter so frequently.
Well,
the Pesach.
It's just annoying to me.
Okay.
So we have, a special that you can do. We're going to name everyone. Now, this was questionable whether to do this or not, but you suggested it, and okay, we can do it. We're going to thank everyone who sent in 4515 as just a thanks for sending in or giving me a birthday shout out. And I guess we should do them all at once on the next show.
Okay, good. That's good.
So if anybody wants to be anonymous that's in this list, which is the problem.
I see.
The auto-anonymous area that we're dealing with. Send me an email, john@dvorak.org. Or better.
John@curry.com.
You can send john@curry.com, which is easier for me to cancel, so do that. And I'll forward them to Eric to Shill, or you can send it directly to shill@noagendanation.com, and maybe that'll help too.
That's better.
I would send it to, if you really have to be anonymous, send a note to Adam@curry.com, John@curry.com, John@dvorak.org, and Shill@noagendanation.com, and then should happen because mistakes can be made. All right, let's thank a few people for show 709 who came in, starting with Claire Thornhill from Toronto, Ontario, 12345. And this is to set my husband dour mood on his way to knighthood. So you have to keep track of this yourself.
Now, she hit him in the mouth, which is nice.
She hit him in the mouth. I think that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been a dedicated listener ever since. Anyway, thanks. She says, John, keep the cat pictures coming. I hate cats, but for some reason your pictures have grown on me. I don't know why, but they're now the first thing I look at when I get the newsletter. By the way, this newsletter was a fail. Right. The last one. I'd recommend people go look around for it. And I'd like to do a little bit after my mentions here about the Google Mail, which this newsletter had too many links, so it ended up in spam. There's only about 1/3 of the people got it.
Just because of the number of links, even though you've been pre-approved as a recipient.
Yeah. I'm sure that was it. It was I follow these numbers closely.
Why do people take this? Why do you allow a company just because it's free? Do you allow a company to determine what you can receive or not? People don't see this, but all right, fine.
That's why I'd go to ctyme.com and get some guy to do news or mail with spam filters. Craig Mazzella in Fairfield, Connecticut, 12345. We got a birthday call out there. Could never afford the true value you two provide, but I hope this donation at least conveys my gratitude. I think the show is great. Maggie Vincent, our buddy.
Hey,
in
Baroness.
Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm. And she says she needs Swazzle enough, Karma? Oh, Maggie. I go visit.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll give her some karma at the end, Maggie.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
John Sturck in Weistad, Sweden. Or Stad. Probably Stad.
Stad? Yeah.
Probably Stad.
He says, money, karma, 11. Okay, got it.
101. Lon Baker, $100. Parts unknown. Herb Lamb from Sugar Hill, Georgia, $90.30. He's always coming in. Herb's around. I think, isn't he a sir by now? I think so.
Could be.
Anyway, he's got the double. He's got the double 40, whatever it was. 4515 doubled. And that becomes 90-30. We should probably be soliciting that. I think one of our barons or our dukes did that the other day. Bill Cotter in New Brighton, Minnesota, $75. Mark Kruijff in Antwerp, 69, Belgium.
He's been listening since show number 1.
Yeah, that's odd. I hope you're open to a suggestion for the improvement. That is to stay away from overly simplifying the characteristics of groups, religions, and countries.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. We'll avoid that.
We'll try that, yeah. Like French are cheap bastards? Is that it? Or lazy?
No, the French are, the Indians are
the Indians are the cheap bastards. For the show, at least. For the show.
The Scots. The French, I don't know. I don't think so.
They just don't like our show, yeah.
Yeah.
That's oversimplifying.
Yeah, I guess it's oversimplifying, but it seems to be a fact.
Yeah, they don't like our show.
Christoph Herring in München, Deutschland, $69.
He needs karma for a startup in the future. We'll get you that, of course.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sir D.H. Slammer, $66.39. This is a long, complicated calculation that he gives us there. James Skousen, I'm sure of it, $64.51. And he is in,
Redlands, California. And a birthday, 51 on March 31st. So we'll have that in the list in a minute.
It's like James Green II in Mesquite, Texas, $62.26. If you get barbecue, you use mesquite. So burn down the town. Sir Richard Harasnek, I think. Harasnek.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Easton, Pennsylvania, $62. Sir Ryan.
Hey, wait a minute. Hold on. Whoa. He says this is a Facebook donation. This is something that you wrote in the newsletter, and I wanted to take pause.
Right. Yeah, Facebook has, if you read the newsletter, it's got a rundown of this. Facebook has decided, our Facebook No Agenda group, which comprises 30,000 people, apparently has decided to get Facebook donations. I have a special link for the Facebook donation, just a blank thing. You put any number in you want, and it gets credited to the Facebook operation. They want to get $1,000 in to give somebody, auction off a knighthood to one of the members of the group. And so far, people have been looking in on this group, tell me that they are bitching and moaning that nobody's doing anything.
Well, Mimi is in this group coordinating things. You know that, right?
No, I've asked her about that. She says that's bull crap. And she says, it's Citizen X that is running this thing.
Okay. Now, Mimi's not involved at all, is what she's saying.
No, she's involved. She's trying to keep people from going crazy.
Ask her to post more dog pictures. That may help.
Anyway, so apparently this is one of those donations for $62.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, we hope it
Sir Ryan Benson of the Tesla Coil in Tampa, Florida, 5510, double nickels on the dime.
Also a birthday.
And he says, by the way, No Agenda karma works. Since my knighthood and job karma, I got a big upgrade in my career with a much cooler company. On top of that, today is my birthday, April 2nd, and we got you down for that.
Nice.
Thank you for the stellar work you've been doing. Okay.
We try.
That's what we call a good note, not, you can improve the show if you use less jingles. We'll never hear from him again. Charles Ackley, New Brunswick, New Jersey, double nickels on the dime. This is Alex, or A-L-E-S, Mochnik. Probably Alex Mochnik. He's in Slovenia, 55. And he has a note. Dear Mr. Dvorak and Curry, after listening to the show for some time, I decided to donate for this deluxe podcast.
Deluxe.
I must still we're a deluxe podcast.
Deluxe. We're not just your regular, we're deluxe. No agenda, deluxe.
I must still get familiar to all the names and topics you cover. Hope that the no agenda karma will work out for my third child that we expect in April. Sorry for the small amount, but life is hard here in the EU.
From Slovenia.
Great place to visit. If you're ever traveling on that side of the Adriatic, go there.
We appreciate any amount, any support.
If you go to Venice for a vacation, go down to Slovenia and visit Ljubljana. It's a gorgeous little place. And now we have $50 donors, including Chasen Rozdilski in Saskatoon, Paris of Canada, Stephen Milliken, parts unknown, Eric Miller in Norwalk, Connecticut, Shane Rozdilski.
No, this is Shane. This is
Shane and Chasen both came in. Okay. And he's also in Saskatoon. Raymond Bonilla in Buffalo, New York. Stephen McConnell in Cortland, Ohio. And that's the end of it. So we ran out of steam there. And hopefully we can get a better showing on Easter Sunday.
Which we'll be working on Easter Sunday, as usual.
We'll be working on Easter Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Which is also we're working on your birthday. You're working on your
birthday. I'm working on my own birthday.
Also want to
take a day off.
If you want it.
No.
Okay.
The show must go on.
Yes, I agree. Thank you to all of the donors under $50, usually for anonymity reasons. Of course, we had a lot of the 4515s. If you want to remain anonymous, then let us know. We will be reading them out on Sunday's show. It's a nice number here. It's a good start. Of course, we have our 33s, our 1212s, our 1111s, etc. Even the 5s, the 4s, and the 1s. Whatever it is, we appreciate anything that you can do to support us. And for those not financially able, anything you can contribute. People do jingles. They give us information about the things that they actually know about because they do these jobs or in the industry. It's a good family to be a part of.
And remember, if it wasn't done this way, if we used commercials and broke for a commercial and started talking about something, we could not really do this show because
Can you imagine?
We can't be influenced.
Can you imagine if we were talking about Red Book with a cruise ship attack in the Caribbean?
Yeah.
Yeah. How long before the hotline rings?
Hello. Hey.
Hey, can you get back? Do some entertainment news.
Curry, is this Curry?
Can't you do some entertainment news? Talk about some showbiz.
What's the point of that? We were trying to close.
Carnival Cruise Lines.
When I was at BC Magazine, I wrote very early in my career there. I wrote a column called "My Dinner with IBM."
Ooh.
And I apparently ended up queering some deal.
Oh, boy.
And one of the salesmen, even though they're not supposed to talk to us,
Chinese wall,
big wall, came over and just chewed me out. This is before Christmas. I needed this for my gifts for my kids. It went on and on. Yeah, that's the way it works. And I felt bad about it.
Yeah. Well, that's the worst part is you when this happens and you're in a regular media business, you feel bad about screwing things up for the company or at the personal level for the sales guy, and then you start to self-censor.
Yeah, self-censor.
Exactly what it is. Please support us for the Sunday show, which, as we just mentioned, is John's birthday. It's Easter Sunday, and of course, we will have more deconstruction for you there.
Dvorak.org/NA.
And a karma for everybody.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Nice long list today. Sir John Donovan, Baron of Silicon Valley, says happy birthday to his daughter Fiona, turning 13 today. James Green II celebrates today as well. Sir Ryan Benson of the Tesla Coil, 33, magic numbers, celebrating today. Martin Fellner turned 25 on March 4th. We have some other belated birthdays. Craig Mazzella to his smoking hot wife who turned 30-something in March. James Skousen, 51 on the 31st. And we have a special call-out from, Sir J.D., Baron of Silicon Valley, for his daughter. Oh, no, I already got Fiona. I'm sorry. Here it is, the new human resource. We welcome Lady Felix Bell Molaro. This, of course, is the first and brand new human resource from producer Mike and Jane, who just recently moved out of Boston. Waiting for pictures because I bet she's really, really cute. Happy birthday from all you buddies here at the best podcast in the universe. I'm so happy for Mike and Jane. A little human resource.
That was good. Yeah. A good group at the end there.
Yeah, we have 2 knightings today. These are both producers who have entered the round table of the Knights and Dames. After we grab our swords here for 1 minute, I'd like to ask David Trotsky and Craig Schmidt to step forward. Gentlemen, both of you have supported the podcast in the amount of $1,000 or more, and therefore I'm very proud to welcome you to the round table, and hereby I pronounce-ticate thee, Sir David Trotsky and Sir Schmitty. For you, gentlemen, we have Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys and Chardonnay. We've got Porn Stars and Pot, Kundalini Yoga and Jambo, Cannabis and Cabernet. Hot Pants and Booze, Wenches and Beer, you got that? Rubenesque Women and Rosé, Sparkling Cider and Escorts, Breast Milk and Pablum, or maybe just your Mutt and Mead. Go to agendanation.com/rings and register there. Note from Eric, the shill rings arrived yesterday. Will be shipping out this weekend.
So they arrived yesterday. When did that note come in?
This is what I got from him today.
So he either got them on Friday, which would have been the end of March. That means the Chinese, whoever's supplying these.
Kazakhstan. Is it what?
Slow in the draw. These Chinese are getting worse.
It's taking a long time to get these.
It came from China.
It's taking a long time to get these. I know.
All right. Well, anyway, we got them. So that means we'll be getting these things out finally.
Good news. I forgot to do this on Sunday at the end. I promised to play the Let's Get Social.
Yes, you did. Damn it, I was thinking about that this morning, and then I was going to write it down, and I didn't, so I would have forgotten to remind you to play it after the end of this show.
I have a trifecta for the end of this show. I have the original, and I've cut them down, the original Let's Get Social, social media. I have actually, I can play this one right now. This is...
Worst but catchiest song in the world.
I've got a couple of different versions of this by now. I've collected.
God.
There's an acoustic version.
Connect with me. Let's have some fun. Let's show the world how this gets done.
Everybody now.
You have to sing it flat.
Yeah.
Social media.
Oh God, this is so bad. I have the original excerpt, which will be played at the end of the show. I promise I will get this done.
You're going to have the rapper at the beginning, the whole thing?
The
rapper is great, that guy.
No, he's in there. I think he's in there. Let me check. It's
Hey now, y'all.
Yeah,
I got it. It's all in there.
He starts with hey now.
Hey now, y'all. Fabulous. Finally, there was a TMZ, just to bring it into real news. I'd probably play the real news clip for a second.
And now, back to real news.
What a great two to the head story about Andrew Getty. This is grandson of... is he the grandson of the
John Paul Getty? So, yeah.
So he must have had dough. He must have had money. All
the Gettys had money.
So the initial report from the coroner was his death appears, quote, natural or an accident. So what does that mean? How can it be natural or an accident? And then TMZ, they had, I think, the best. They had the best reporting. Let me just go down to the. Here it is. Grandson of oil tycoon J. Paul Getty found dead. Quote: traumatic injury to rectal area.
How is that natural causes?
Well, I don't know, but they don't extrapolate. But that's not the headline I want when I die. I do not want traumatic injury to his rectal area. This is poor Adam. Oh well, we always knew. And you look at the
that bi-curious bull crap. Yeah,
I mean, a traumatic injury. Oh, here it is. Here it is. TMZ TMZ reports Getty's death involved a, quote, traumatic injury to the rectal area with significant bleeding. And to just make it worse.
Oh, God.
Yeah. This is no bueno. This is not how you want to go out. I want to go out in a blaze of glory, a flaming ball of fire from the sky, anything but significant bleeding to the rectal area.
Seems like some sort of flaming was involved.
Hey now. Then, let's see, what do we have?
Well, I got one.
Yeah, go ahead and roll it.
Let's do this. Just get back to politics.
Okay, good.
13 senators and FIFA MP3.
Mm-hmm.
A group of US senators has written to football's governing body, FIFA, urging it to consider removing Russia as host of the 2018 World Cup because of its role in the Ukraine crisis and occupation of Crimea. The 13 Democratic and Republican US lawmakers said they strongly encourage FIFA to move the tournament. Last month, FIFA President Sepp Blatter rejected Ukrainian calls to boycott the tournament if it remained in Russia.
Oh, of course.
Please.
Oh, of
Don't
course.
these guys have anything better to do than guess what's on the list?
Yeah.
Guess.
Yeah.
McCain.
Mm-hmm. Who else?
Well, like I said, I got a few. Dick Durbin.
Graham.
And by the way, here's the kicker. Bob Menendez.
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
But even worse, when I was looking up to see who these guys were, that's just the usual cast of jerk-offs.
Douchebags, yeah.
I looked up 13 senators, and I found 13 senators, also a different group of 13, including Schumer, Feinstein and Boxer, Marie Cantwell, also Bob Menendez. All, in this case, all Democrats have petitioned FIFA to change the Women's World Cup in Canada to natural grass rather than turf.
Why not kale?
Why are they doing this? What has it got to do with what we have going on? What does this have to do with American anything?
Are we we're not in the cup, are we?
The Women's Cup?
I don't know. Are we in
the Women's Cup?
We're not. They're complaining about that? That doesn't even get primetime coverage.
Well, they've got time on their hands in the U.S. Senate. Feinstein and Menendez. What is this guy? He's just signing everything. What do you got for me? Oh, yeah, I'll sign it. Probably got himself into trouble.
Anything just to get on the F Russia bandwagon. That's what it is. Anything to do that.
Yeah, no, there was F Russia.
Yeah, you said it this time.
Okay, here's one.
Mm-hmm.
This is what do we call that when you give you self?
Moral self-licensing.
Moral self-licensing. Okay, here's your moral self-licensing regarding this to me is not only pathetic, but it does bring us a possible new meme. Play Avon 39.
It's the urge to dig deep, to do something big, bold, and more profound than you ever have. This is Avon 39. 2 days and 39 miles, the walk to end breast cancer, where your blisters and sore muscles are a badge of courage. It isn't easy, but that's what makes it worth it. Avon 39, the walk to end breast cancer. Take the challenge. Become the hero you want to be. Register today.
Jeez. If it actually ended breast cancer, I'd consider, but this is bullshit.
Become the hero you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a good line.
Yeah.
But what has this got to do with anything? This doesn't do anything. You walk 39 miles and you get blisters, and this is like your badge of honor, and you're the hero. You're a hero now for walking. This doesn't solve the problem.
No.
What does it do? It gets, I went on the 39-mile walk, so I've done my part.
Well, I can tell you exactly what this does, John, because this, of course, is a part of National Cancer Control Month. Remember? So that's all it does.
Call back.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of political noise being made. This is going to be a very interesting election for the United States of Gitmo Nation. It appears no one wants to win this. And you and I could run and would have as much chance as some of these people who are in the race. And a couple of, let's see. First, here I have, now your girl, Elizabeth Warren, was on the Today Show with Savannah Guthrie.
And I have the entire interview. If you want to deconstruct it, it's too long to play.
I have a minute 20. Chopped it up.
Well, I've got did you get the very first part? So let's get a little background I'll give to the people.
But the background, I'll start. The background is
The background is of this interview.
Mm-hmm.
The background of this interview is Savannah Guthrie has one question in mind, and she just
has to ask over and over and over again.
Elizabeth Warren,
are you going to run? Yes. Let me play my clip since it's shorter. And if you think it doesn't do justice, we can do yours. All right? Mine's chopped up.
Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren joins us now. She, of course, has taken on Wall Street, and now some members of her own party are saying she should run for president against Hillary Clinton. One of her priorities in office is giving middle-class families a fighting chance, which, by the way, is the title of her new memoir. Now, you didn't think you'd get away with this interview without me asking you point blank, are you going to run for president?
No.
She says no, John. She says no.
I'm not running, and I'm not going to run.
Let me make sure that we underscore this and maybe bold it and put it in all caps.
I need an answer. This is not the answer I wanted.
You unequivocally.
Do you think maybe that they were expecting her to say yes and that this was the moment she was going to announce, and instead it's just her crappy
this is
book?
An interesting theory.
It's a crappy book.
Because she had no question other than you're going to run. You're not going to run. You're not going to run. You sure you're not going to run? Have you ever thought of running? Did you one time when you were crossing the border to Canada, did they ask you if you were going to run and you accidentally said yes? I mean, just on and on and on. It's very funny. I have the whole thing, and you should put that in the show notes.
Put it in the show notes.
Play the whole thing.
Well, I can play the rest of mine, which is another 45
Play the rest
seconds.
of yours, and you do have to play the end of mine because I'm sure you didn't get that.
Okay. Categorically saying, I'm not running for president in 2016.
I'm not running.
You care so much about these issues. Your supporters say, well, then you're the perfect person to go in and fight for them and take them on. They're afraid that Hillary Clinton won't give voice to these issues that you care about. This is something you obviously feel passionate about. You came out of the private sector, came to Washington for this purpose. Because you care about those issues, I have to ask you,
why don't you run?
You think Hillary Clinton, as the Democratic nominee, presumably in 2016, is she the right messenger for that? Do you think she will give a credible voice to these issues of whether the middle class is getting a fair shake? Possibly I'm beating a dead horse here, but did you ever even consider, entertain the possibility of running for president?
No.
I think that's what happened, John. I think said, hey, she's got a big announcement, and it's just a crummy book.
Yeah, no, it's not even in her book. This is the paperback version of her book.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, It's a paperback version.
I think someone got duped. Book. Someone got duped on this, and
I think you might be right because that's the only explanation. She just wants to sell more books.
And she's clearly not going to run. It sounds.
Well, then if you try to back it up so there's about maybe 20 seconds and play the last of my clip, because then they throw it to Matt Lauer, who makes a snide comment
after another. And so we end up with people across this country who work hard, who play by the rules, and who are barely making it paycheck.
Rule followers.
Paycheck. That's in part because of choices that have been made in Washington, choices that tilt the playing field in favor of those who have lobbyists, in favor of Fortune 500 companies, in favor of the biggest financial institutions, and against real people.
Elizabeth Warren's always good to get your perspective. Thanks for answering the question. I guess we put the speculation to rest this morning.
It's good to see you.
Thank you very much. And once again, the book is A Fighting Chance. Matt, we'll send it over to you.
Darius, I don't think she's running. Yeah, I don't think she's running either. No. It doesn't sound like there's any possibility. I'd be shocked if she runs. Me too. Darius Rucker's got the #1 song in the country.
I'll be shocked if she runs.
Here's how it went down. She has a very important announcement to make on your show about... because this is the time, everyone's talking about running or not. I think they got duped. They thought it was that, and it just turns out to be no. Here's my shocking revelation. I'm not running. Buy my book.
And here's it where you have to also approach it from the agent side, the person handling her. It's like there had to be a discussion. Well, you're trying to trick them into putting you on the show so you can plug your book. Don't you think there's going to be long-term repercussions? And she would say, well, if I actually run for president at some point, they're going to have me on the show then because there's not going to be any repercussions.
Right. And
they'll be playing my clip saying I'm not going to run over and over again. So that's more publicity. And then if this is the only book I'm going to do, they probably would never invite me back anyway. So what difference does it make? I might as well go for it.
That's the John C. Dvorak view of reviews of cars. Come on.
Hey,
come on.
Hey, I got car reviews coming.
Cough up. You got to explain that. Never mind. We'll do that on another show. Let me ask you this. because I have a clip. Carly Fiorina. What do you think of her?
Well, I don't like her. I've never met her. And I think when she was the head of HP, I didn't like her, and the Valley didn't like her in general. And she is, when I watch her, and she ran for senator against Barbara Boxer and couldn't beat her, which is pathetic.
You mean Boxer, the serial rapist?
Boxer, the serial rapist?
No, she was always hitting on people.
The one, no, she wasn't raping.
She wasn't rape. Well, she came,
a serial sex fiend.
She came across as rapey.
That was years ago.
Rapey.
Anyway, that's backstory for people out there. When I was in the air pollution district, she was on the board, some air board, and she would always get rides from the various inspectors. And then, from what I understood, she was always trying to have sex with them.
But
she was really pretty then. She was kind of cute. But that was like long time.
Well, then what was wrong with you?
I didn't have that place. Two things. One, I wouldn't have done it. But two, where I lived was in the East Bay, and that's where I would drive.
You were going the wrong direction.
I was going in the wrong direction.
Missed out on banging Boxer because you lived in the other direction. Damn.
Whatever the case. Yeah. Anyway, where was I?
Carly Fiorina.
So she, I don't like her style. She's got that snooty little twisted way of talking that just bugs me. You know, it's like she's like
How did she do as CEO of HP?
Terrible.
Did she do anything right? Does she have any credits that are good?
No.
And that's why I don't like her.
No, that's not why I don't like her. I just don't like her. She rubs me the wrong way. I don't like the way she presents herself. Mm-hmm. I don't like the way she talks. I don't like anything about her. I just don't like her. It's just, I don't know, if I met her, maybe I'd say, wow, what a great person. I'm judging her only on not meeting her.
I have a clip.
It's unfair.
Mm-hmm. I have a clip here, and she will be announcing she's running for president, which she puts at 90% certainty. I will say, listening to this, I don't like her either. I don't know her. I don't know anything about her, but she comes, I don't like most people. I even like you. But here's Carly, and she has a pretty good rap, and I thought she, of all the candidates I've heard, at least she wasn't doing all the sickly God bless America, bring back our values as most Republicans do. Here's her spiel.
What are the chances that you're going to run for president?
Very high.
You're a former businesswoman. Give me a number.
Higher than 90%.
Really?
Yes, sir.
So what would prevent you? Why aren't you willing to announce right here today? I can't.
Everybody
wants this too.
Everybody wants this. Everybody wants for someone to announce on their show. That's the same thing with the Today Show. Who gives a crap? It's a PR.
Candidate for president.
Well, because, we need, as other potential candidates are doing, we need to make sure we have the right team in place, that we have the right support.
Money.
That we have the right financial resources lined up, just as all the other potential candidates are doing.
And when would you announce?
Probably late April, early May.
If you run, and it would be in a field of current and former governors, several current senators, why should Republican voters pick you?
Because I have a deep understanding of how the economy actually works, having started as a secretary and become the chief executive of the largest technology company in the world, because I understand how the world works and know many of the world leaders on the stage today, because I understand technology, a transformational tool, because I understand bureaucracies, how they work and how you need to change them, and our government is a huge bureaucracy. And because I understand executive decision-making, which is making tough calls in tough times with high stakes for which you're prepared to be held accountable.
Okay, well, let's talk specifically about your experience as a business executive. Beyond the typical Republican talking points, and not to say that they're wrong, but what are your ideas that are different about the economy and about dealing with our national debt?
Well, I think we have two fundamental structural problems in our economy. One is that we have tangled people up in a web of dependence from which they can't escape, and so we're leaving lots of talent on the field. Secondly, we're crushing small businesses now. Elizabeth Warren is right. Crony capitalism is alive and well. Big business and big government go hand in hand, but for the first time in U.S. history now, we are destroying more businesses than we are creating. And so while we have 10 banks too big to fail now have become 5 banks too big to fail, 3,000 community banks have gone out of business, and that's where family-owned and small businesses get their chance. That's important, because small businesses create 2/3 of the new jobs and employ half the people.
She's got a good rap so far. I can't fault her for anything she's saying. She's got a good rap.
Anyone can get a good rap. I could say all those same things.
Of course. But what she says at the end, you would never say. Well, actually, you would say it. So would I.
So if we want Main Street and the middle class going and growing again, we've got to get small and family-owned businesses going and growing again. Washington, D.C. has become a vast, unaccountable bureaucracy. It's been growing for 40 years. We have no idea how our money is spent. I think there are two things that would help tremendously. One, zero-based budgeting. So we actually know where the money is spent, and we're talking about the whole budget, not just the rate of increase. And two, pay for performance in our civil service. We have, how many Inspector General reports do we need to read that say, you can watch porn all day long and get paid exactly the same way as somebody who's trying to do their job?
It's true. It's true. I like that. And I would like that job, please.
Yeah. Government job, you can do it.
Now, what I like about Carly Fiorina entering the fray is it will be fun to watch women talk about her as if she's scum because she's Republican.
Oh yeah, all Republican women are scum.
This will be fun to watch, and it'll be like she's an idiot, she's stupid.
Probably a religious nut.
You watch.
Hates gays.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Oh, gun lover.
Yeah. Wait until the hates gay thing comes up.
Yeah,
please,
gun lover too.
please.
That's my other favorite. That one kind of fell by the wayside. The gun thing. We have to need a shooting. There'll be one April 15th.
April 15th for the 6-week cycle. Be on the lookout for Caribbean issues. And on Sunday, tech news with us. Yeah, tech news. We'll have tech news.
Tech news.
That's right. Nothing like a little bit of tech news on your birthday.
Tech news. I can almost do an imitation of that clip that you have, that guy, that Tech Grouch guy.
Yeah, I bet you could. We'll try it on Sunday. How about that?
Okay.
All right.
I'll work on it.
All right. Good deal. Good deal. As promised, we will be bringing you the Let's Get social media
medley.
I'll just play one. I don't know if I can do the whole medley.
Come on.
Really? You want the whole medley?
Love that song.
All right. We'll do the whole medley then. Fine by me. If you can handle it, fine by me. Thank you all very much for supporting the program. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA and go to that site to find out about your Fletcher Fest call out for your special John C. Dvorak birthday/Easter call out. And just anything will help us continue this program. It's yours, after all. Coming to you from FEMA Region 6 here in the Crackpot Condo. In the morning, everybody, my name's Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, and I look down and I see the freeway from here. Stop dead. I'm John C. Dvorak.
We'll be back on Sunday right here on No Agenda.
I know a lot of people want to send blankets or water. Just send your cash. We just need cash. Blankets or water.
What difference does it make?
Cash. We need cash.
We can't take that to the bank.
Dear God, please bless Adam and John as they protect the world from the lies of the media.
No Agenda.
Hey, don't you know that No Agenda is the best podcast in the universe?
Yeah, no. I mean, yes, I know.
So connect with me, let's have some fun, let's show the world how this gets done. Let's get social with social media. Let's get social with social media, where we can spread the word and grow our reach and find our fans in their news feed. Let's get social with social media.
It was worth it. It was worth it.
Our fans, or is this just another deal? Said another way that we lost our way.
Social's about the people, remember? We are people. Do we really need another like, fan, or share? Do we need another post to show up everywhere? I hope as we scatter that we never forget that our posts live forever, even when we go to bed.
So connect with me. Let's have some fun. Let's show the world how this gets done. Let's get social. Social media. Let's get social. With social media. We can spread the word and grow our reach and find our fans in their newsfeed. Let's get social. Let's get social. Let's get social. Let's get social.
Let's get social media. Give it up, Mary McCoy. Woo!
Oh my God, that is amazing!
I'm Joe Biden, and thank you for taking the time to listen.
Adios, mofo.
The best podcast in the universe. Dvorak.org/NA.
Amen. Fist bump.